Disclaimer. This week's episode contains bad jokes that may be considered offensive for some individuals. So suck it up, princess!
So you can do everything with it?
Yeah, sure. I can get my phone calls, go on the internet, and get all my emails.
Oh, really? The internet too?
Oh, yeah, and porno sites too, of course.
Really? It can even access porno sites?
Come on, porno sites are the basics.
Porno sites! Porno sites!
I am done.
You told me to watch this anime, and the moment I heard that, I knew it had to be our quote.
Oh my god.
That was
Especially
perfect.
with the voice change.
It was meant to be.
Hello, and welcome. I am your host, Robert.
This is Gio, Captain Chaos.
And this is the mad scientist down in Australia, Ray.
And we are all broken.
Yeah. Porno sites, porno sites.
Gee.
Oh wow. Yeah, I couldn't wait to do this episode. It's
Thank you, 2002, for amusing the hell out of me.
oh god. Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day where people didn't get so upset about every little thing.
Oh, yeah. Good times. They were simply.
But hey, we put a disclaimer in, so we're okay.
Very explicit thanks to me. So it's on you if you come in and listen in.
Yeah, thanks, Captain Chaos.
And it's even more on you if you come into YouTube, which you should go and subscribe.
Yeah, help us out.
Why would they want to do that? I mean, what benefit would that have?
They had no idea what they're missing out, man, if they're not watching the video. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, but
I'm not gonna even say I'm not gonna even say it now. So if you listen to it and you haven't gone to the
okay.
YouTube, you gotta go and actually watch. But you're missing out what's in the screen right now.
Yeah.
What, the cherry blossoms?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what it is. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
kind of wondering.
Well, that and now that you say cherry blossoms, the idea is for our viewers probably want with that hashtag, they probably want to see my cherry blossom too.
Oh,
I thought it was your fuzzy peach, not your cherry blossom.
Moving on really quick.
Really quick.
You have a question for all of us.
What have you been watching,
I
guys?
have a question for you because I'm laughing about the So what have you guys been watching this week?
Oh my god. I want to start because Ahsoka was insane. Oh my god.
Sorry. Don't you mean Star Trek with my wife? Hashtag?
Oh yeah, that too. I just figure I give our very own Captain Chaos a little break.
Yeah, that was glorious.
Was Sabine in it this week? I haven't watched it yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was.
You know my sweetie Sabine, who's just amazing and makes all the right decisions and
Yeah.
isn't a flip-flop or
Simp
anything like
alert. Simp alert.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to say it. I miss Sabine. That's it.
You're a simping.
You're outnumbered.
Yeah,
You're a Mandalorian.
yeah.
You're a Simpdalorian.
Oh yes.
Mandalorian, The Revenge of the Simps by Sabine.
Oh, I love that. And you guys, if you have not heard, we did an episode, right?
Yeah.
I think we did. We did.
We did. We had like 6 different dickers from that episode.
If you want to hear our very own Captain Chaos just being pissed off at someone, go back and listen to that episode. Oh, love it. Just
I
love
was
it.
just expressing my feelings. And honestly, it felt good to root for a Sith.
Yeah. But we all know that you would anyways, you know? It wouldn't be Captain Chaos if it wasn't.
No, I mean, I hate Anakin. He's a little bitch.
Oh, yeah. I hate
everywhere. I hate the beach.
I have the high ground, Anakin.
Oh God. Okay, so moving on. Who else wants to answer that question? What have you been watching sci-fi?
Me, I've been watching actually Ahsoka too. I think I watched it up to episode 4. That's everything that is out right now, or there's 6 episodes.
I believe so, if I'm not
I
I
think
mistaken.
watched
it's.
up to
I
the
think
4
it's
when
six.
Sabine goes on their journey um with Ahsoka
Okay.
and cuts her hair. Um, Up to there, I watched,
Oh no,
and
there's more.
so I'm missing some. I
Mm,
also watched Sci-Fi. Uh, I was watching today Space Odyssey again,
nice.
and I remember what I was watching yesterday before I go to sleep. I was watching Westworld, the movie.
Oh, finally. This is
Yeah,
one that we want to cover.
yep,
So can't wait to hear Captain Chaos opinions on that movie.
super good, man. I really liked it.
Yeah, that's if you guys have seen the TV show, uh, this is actually where that TV show was inspired from.
And I don't know if you guys. I wanted to ask you guys here on the show. I added a movie that was suggested by a very good friend of mine. I have not watched it, but I'm sure that you probably both have. Inner Space.
Oh yes,
Is that the
oh
one where they shrink down the little ship and go inside a person's body?
yes,
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. That was like 90s, wasn't it?
yeah, I
1987.
80s. Jesus, even earlier.
Yeah,
yeah.
I have vague recollections of that movie, but
I was 17, man.
it's been so long I haven't watched it, and I was a little kid when I watched it.
I was 17. Wow.
Hmm.
Okay, and
What about you, Ray? What have you been watching?
Oh, I was wondering if I was getting an
No,
opportunity
we're just
this
gonna
week. Wasn't
forget you, man.
it? Who are you? Go away. I can take it. I can take it. Oh, damn, what was the name of that show? Oh yeah. So it's the 20th anniversary of Firefly, the TV series being
Mm.
released. So I went back and started rewatching that because it's so much fun.
Nice.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know, but we actually did an episode on Firefly. So
Was that the train job?
the train job, yeah.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Yeah. So if you guys have not listened to that and you're a Firefly fan, you might want to listen to that.
We need to do the movie sometime too.
Oh yes, we have to.
Oh yeah.
And this is not watching, but I've been listening to the light novels for Trapped in a Dating Sim. The world of Atomic Games is harsh for a mob character.
Is it progressing good?
Oh well, apparently there's 3 arcs, and the first arc is the one that they've covered most of in the anime. They covered like 3/4 of the first arc. It's a shame they didn't add a few more episodes and finish it up. But yeah, it was really well written. It was really tight. It was
Nice.
actually while the anime is representative, and we should cover that anime at some point. But while the anime was representative of the story, the light novels got a whole lot more in it. And although the main character has got a bit of a bad personality, he's actually a decent guy. But yeah, it continues on because what he didn't know, because he died just after finishing playing the first game, is that there's 2 more sequels that he's got to deal with.
After being blackmailed by his lovely sister.
Oh yeah. Oh no, she continues to screw with him. It's beautiful.
Bad,
She
bad words,
continues to
bad
screw with
words,
him.
bad words are allowed in here.
Oh
She's
yeah.
a little twat.
Yeah, she is.
Oh my god.
She
There's bad words and there's Captain Chaos nice
You
words.
can beep that, Robert, if you want.
she continues to screw with him, and the 5 love interests, the prince and his band of idiots, continue to screw with her.
Is she that little blonde girl that was
Yeah.
like a first character is trying to mess up with him all the time but always
Yep.
get served?
Yep.
I thought so because I stopped watching it. I was watching it with Robert actually, and I stopped watching it right before, like, we were already doubting on that. What Robert and I were speculating, but it hadn't been revealed. But we thought it was that. Like, it was another player, maybe his sister.
Is the sister.
In the first arc, the people who've been isekai'd are him and his sister, they don't actually tell you in the anime, but she lived on past his death for like 20 years or something before she got isekai'd, but she was isekai'd to the same time as him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, you wouldn't, because it wasn't in the anime. But actually, I highly recommend these light novels because they're, well, at least the first arc's really well written, and he's always bitching about fucking devs. None of this world makes any sense. They just threw these things in because they felt like it.
Oh God!
I am reading the light novel, by the way. On that one, at least the first book. The first book.
I started playing. I thought of continuing yesterday. Actually, the game that you told me, Robert, Onihiri.
Oh,
was it that one? The one that is just pressing A and then dialogues and shit.
Oh no! Was it Doki Doki?
Doki Doki, yeah, Doki Doki.
Yeah,
Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah, I have it on the Nintendo Switch, and Robert got me into it. And yesterday I was like thinking, like, I should start playing this.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna pick it up again and see. I get bored fast. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't think it's my game. Oh, so awesome.
But yeah, keep reading, Robert, because at least the first arc. I'm partway through the second arc, but at least the first arc's really well written. It's really tight.
Yeah, I got.
And you find out things that weren't in the anime, so you probably want to read it. It's a little bit more complete.
Awesome.
Nice.
Okay, so should we move on to the next segment?
Yo. Or should I say, Chi?
We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is SciFi.
Well, everybody, and I want to remember you to the beautiful thing about using the This is Sci-Fi hashtag, actually, which is we started a movement, guys, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's awesome. Actually, I had a great experience with it this week on Twitter because there's a show that I don't know why Ray and Robert haven't gotten into it, even though I mentioned it like for the last 7 episodes that we recorded.
You mean Babylon 5?
No, Peripheral. Babylon 5 is already a movement, a hashtag. It's something we're gonna need probably like worldwide collaboration here to get you there, bro. But basically, I was curious about like our audience and our friends about the show Peripheral from Amazon Prime, which I think is a magnificent show. To me, it's been, I haven't finished it, but it's as good as it was Westworld, the show for me. It's like one of those shows like you just love everything about it, and it's so intriguing and so much depth in it.
It took me so long to find that. It's way down the list.
I'm gonna delete some of the hashtags that we have in there.
Yeah,
we have way
there's
too
no way
many
to
now.
sort it. That's the problem.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I use that hashtag, and we have so much engagement, man. We have like almost 10 people joining into the conversation and sharing their thoughts about what they thought about it, if they liked it, if they didn't, and it was so much fun, man. There's so many, and I've been so busy that I'm planning on probably dedicating some time today or tomorrow to reply to them individually too, because I like to pick people's brain, and share the things that you love, and that's what this is Sci-Fi is for, really. So, whatever you're looking for, just a company and one more hashtag will kill you, right? So put this is Sci-Fi, and whatever Sci-Fi you like, it could be video games, mangas, comics, anime, TV shows, movies, anything, books. Just use it, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. You guys had any experience this week with This is Sci-Fi?
It's always it's insane. And that's what I love about the sci-fi, and I'm so glad that it actually turned out to be the way that we wanted it to be, because things doesn't they don't always work out the way you want it to, and that the reason, if you guys have heard our show long enough, you know that the reason why we created it is because we wanted a single bucket where every sci-fi IP fits in. It doesn't have to be silos. It's everything all into one, and it's amazing. And because of that, you get to talk to people that um, love the thing you want to talk about. You engage in conversation, which is a great thing. And this is basically what happened to you, Captain Chaos. The great conversation about that post you did, or in many cases, finding out other things that you never know existed, that is related to sci-fi, and just because of that, you have one more thing that you love the most. So yeah, the conversation, it's all over the place, and it expands from there. It goes into not only our Discord channel, other people's Discord channels. We have a chat, an Instagram, and it is just all over the place, and I love it. The conversation is amazing, and we love sci-fi, so that's what we're looking for.
Yep.
My experience this week I already covered in the what have I been watching, because I had no idea it was the 20th anniversary of Firefly until I read it from the hashtag. Ooh, I know what I'm watching.
Yeah.
So besides that,
So it's safe to say you had your good doses of Morena Bacari's deliciousness on screen.
oh yeah,
Yum.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
man. I mean,
delicate little bonnet.
she
I will
probably,
end you.
if she ever come across our show, she probably won't like to meet us because she will be terrified to hear how I look at her or think of her like the most delicious food I ever gonna see in my
oh
life.
my god. Just-
It's all right. I'm
okay.
already giving up. I don't think that she's gonna ever gonna meet us anyway. So
Is this my cue to go to the next segment?
yeah,
I'd be
probably.
happy to be delectable.
Okay, so I guess we're going to our next segment.
Shout outs.
Shout outs. Oh my god. You see, when it's my turn for the shout outs, maybe 9 out of 10 times when I click back into the window, it just pops off. You know,
Well, while you go and find it,
I
I
did.
just want to add something to the shout outs, and I don't know if you had it there or not already.
Okay.
But you should make a mention in the notes. Rosalita.
Oh, Rosalita, yes.
She posted because and the reason why I want to mention is because we're already talking about it's already in the conversation that I'm probably I'm not sure if I'm right, but let me know if I'm right, Ray. But probably that post that you found came from her, and she's actually promoting and other. I don't know if that was that post that you read or other post, but she was promoting. There's multiple podcasts. They have done an episode on Firefly, and she actually had a link to our episode
And
there.
she had a kick-ass photo with the cast from Firefly.
Yes, amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
I actually did a share of stories in Instagram of her posts. Free kick-ass, man. Very kick-ass.
Yeah, so Rosalita, thank you so much. You're number one in our circles. You always will be.
Yep.
And thank you for that uh, piece of promo. We really appreciate it.
That's what sci-fi is all about, man. About sharing what we love in common, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I invite everybody to go into that This Is Sci-Fi hashtag, find that post, and listen to the other ones, the other podcasts in that list. She actually posted links to it. They're really good, really, really good episodes. So I recommend you guys. If you like Firefly, you have like right there a menu of different podcasts that you can listen to.
hmm And I want to start with the shout outs by reminding everybody that we're part of the Blind Knowledge Network. So go and check them out for real. It's an honor to be part of them. And I think that doesn't matter what you like, they have such a great variety of content creators that I'm sure you're going to find what you like in there. All kinds. It's like Joey likes to say, man, what's cool? podcast. What's not cool? Not podcast. So go on to the podcast. You're gonna like it.
Yay.
And I want to start actually. I have a long list of supporters. They all joined on that this is sci-fi experience that I had today, and I wanted to give them all a shout out because I mean it was awesome to just hear from them and their unique perspective on all of it. So first is Kelly Szentgyorgyi, Antiporo. She's one of our top supporters of all times in Twitter. You're awesome, Kelly. Then next is David, and his tag is Dada David Vid. Oh my god, bro. You almost killed me there. I'm gonna go and say it again. Dada David Vid. Okay, guys? It's in Twitter. Awesome dude too. Thank you, man.
I
I
didn't.
really
I didn't know.
appreciate.
I didn't
Yeah.
know you could start. I didn't know you could stutter in an at. But
Well,
there you go.
David, if that's your name, probably whoever named you was stuttering. Dada David Vid. So the next one is Anywhere But Now, Heighten, a Doctor Who actual play podcast. That's a lengthy name, but Robert and his wife love it probably.
Yeah.
And her tag is Anywhere But Now underscore. Awesome follower too, I was also happy to hear your thoughts on the peripheral show. Next one is VSMP, and the tag at Twitter is VS Movie Podcast. Awesome show, guys. Go and check them out. They are fun to listen to. Next is 2 Cents Critic, and you can find the tag two, like the letters instead of the number, underscore Cents Critic. Go and check them out too. They are awesome. They have some funny review and feedback to give about what they talk about. It's awesome. Next one is if this goes on, parenthesis, don't panic. And the tag is if underscore this underscore goes underscore on. Is there a way for you to say something and just say there's an underscore in all the spaces? I just want to make
I
sure that
mean,
our audience can find it if they want to go and check it out, which they should, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll repeat it again. If this goes on, and then put an underscore in every space. Yeah, that sounded better, man.
yep.
Next one is Grayson, and his tag in Twitter too is TV Guy Grayson. Awesome man. That he's awesome, man. Go and check him out too. He's a lover of all movie things. He's a great guy. Next one is OddJon, and his tag is DMR Const 2. I think that
Yeah,
he's
he's
from
from
the
the
Elite
elite
Army.
army.
Yeah,
He
yeah, he's
is.
from the
Yeah.
Elite Army. Awesome
Long.
dude
Long.
too. I love also the all the posts, which I didn't mention on this sci-fi because it's gonna be also. I'm probably gonna bring that into the new segment that we want to bring, which is the Alita news. Because I always have fun, man, with the Alita Army and the fun pictures the memes that they post about Alita.
Yeah.
They're just so much fun, man. Like there's no end to it. So shout out to you, John, man. Thanks for participating. I'm going to reply about your thoughts and reviews on the peripheral because it's an awesome show and man, it got so much traction, man. Next one, actually, a podcast that I love listening to, the Jacked Up Review Show podcast. Awesome dudes, man. You go and check them out. You can find them on Twitter, and you can find all the social medias. They're everywhere, just like us. You can find them in Twitter by Jacked Up Review. Just type it all together. You're gonna find them. You're gonna have the time of your life. Just look for an episode, something that you have already watched, and just relax and sit. You can go to the gym, be driving. You have some fun, man. They're fun guys. And next, actually, is Gvnzng, the personification of chaos time traveler. That's the name. And the tag is GVNZNG. That's the tag actually. So you can find him also on Twitter. I think it will be like Guns, because I know the ancient times there was no U letter. They would use the V as a U. That's what you see in old Roman buildings and things too.
Mm.
When you see a writing, there's not a U. What you see is the V as in Victor placed in.
Question: Is it your cousin, Chaos?
I think so. Maybe he's just a very, very good fan, man.
So back in the day, the ducks went quack.
Yeah, back.
Quack.
Literally back. and and then I just wanted to give everybody a thank you for joining the conversation on that Amazon Prime show. By the way, all the listeners, you go and check it out. It's awesome show, man. The Peripheral. It deals a lot with. It has a lot of action. It's very thrilling. It's super sci-fi, man. Super sci-fi. Feel free to join our Discord, and let's continue the conversation. We love your perspective on Peripheral, and would like to hear anything else that you like. And that'll be all for today on today's shout outs.
Awesome. And just remember, you too can be part of this conversation. Just engage with us anywhere we are. We're everywhere. X. We are in Threads. We are in Instagram. We're in TikTok. You can even comment on our YouTube channels, and we do read those and respond. And if you want to be on the show, but don't, maybe the timing is not right for you, and you could actually send in your voicemails and we can make a conversation out of it. Our hotmail is hotmail. Our
Wow. Blast from the past.
a blast from the past. Our voicemail is 305-563-6334. That is 305-563-6334.
Our operators are standing by.
Exactly.
Hey, I still use Hotmail. Thank you very much.
I do too.
Old man.
I do too.
And I use MSN, which is actually prior to that.
Yeah,
you know,
always. Robert always had to top it off and be the coolest one.
back around the day of the anime that we're talking about today in 2002, they wouldn't accept Hotmail accounts as legitimate. So, like, if you put down a Hotmail account as your email contact, they wouldn't accept it.
Yeah, I remember.
It was before Microsoft bought it. When Microsoft bought it, suddenly it became legit.
Yeah.
But don't you remember when Gmail came out? Basically, you could not get one. You had to be invited. So I like Gmail was cool because you had so much more space. You had, I think, 1 gigabyte of data, and then basically I was like, I had my Hotmail, and I was like, I want to have one so I can keep my photos and things that people send me, music, early 2000s, and then they would tell me like, no, you can't have one. Somebody had to send you an invitation so you can register and get it. And I was like, oh man, this is so cool. It's like an inner circle club for email.
Creating artificial demand by reducing supply.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
It worked though. Everybody was like, oh yeah, I got one now. I'm so cool.
Google's like, zzz.
It was clever, man. It was clever. I gotta give it to them.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're ready for this.
Gee,
Yeah, I'm glad you are.
gee.
G?
Porn sites, porn sites.
G.
Gee.
G?
Gee.
G.
Gee.
G?
Gee.
If you're wondering why we can't stop saying "chi," it's because that is the only word that one of the main characters, the main female protagonist, whose name becomes Chi because
That's what you said.
what he calls her, because that's what she says. You know,
That's what she said.
early 2000s was a simpler time, folks.
Yeah.
Don't pick on them.
You say, do we have to invest on this actress? And no, she doesn't have a dialogue. Don't worry.
She just says Chi for the first 3 episodes. That's all she says. But it's the intonations that give it all away. It's like Chi.
So before we move on, do we have the plot?
The plot.
Bum, 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 bum.
And by the way, we have the plot, and in the show, there's plot development.
Are you sure? Are you sure that's that? Are you sure?
Okay.
So I actually have the short plots for the first 10 episodes. It's a little bit complicated because what we've normally done is highlighted one episode and talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have something as complicated and far-reaching as this. And I say it like that because in our very last episode, Cherry 2000, we had a big discussion right at the very end of the show about how people how people interact with like simulacrums of humanity and why they're becoming necessary in some environments and all that sort of thing. And again, it must be the theme for the month. I don't know, but this show is right up that alley. It's like like Cherry 2000 here, and then right next to it is Chobits. So it is kind of like the theme for the month: humanity, AI, and artificial life forms, and how we're going to interact with them in the future, because it will be a big turning point. And people like to interact with people or things that look like people. So some guy probably they were sitting around the table going, "Hey, what are we going to write this manga about? Oh, how about if like people like to interact with people, not machines. So instead of like sitting there in front of your CRT screen typing an email, what if your computer looked like a person?" That's all I had to say, and suddenly you've got an anime. And you think it's a simple statement.
Imagine if you're pissed off to your computer in this reality, and instead of just slamming the keyboard, you just punch the face.
And of course, the reason why we had to have a disclaimer on this episode was not because our dad jokes are horrible, but because, I mean, well, obviously the quote kind of gave it away, but people use the internet to access pornography to satisfy their desires when there isn't a person around. And if your computer looked like your preferred, exactly, if computers looked like your preferred sexual target, what do you think you'd be doing with them? It wouldn't be like staring at a screen looking at pictures. No.
Yeah.
Your computer would become your sexual partner. And that is something that is explored. I mean, they skirt around the subject because they didn't want to get booted off TV, but I mean, they don't pull punches particularly much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all in there, and we will get to that. But as you were saying, I wanted to give a little bit of context, but as you're saying, the plot goes along the lines of...
Before you move on to the plot, I think I got to give it a more like a timeline perspective so people realize what this is coming from. So let me read this really quickly, and then you move on into the plot. I think it's kind of important. So this anime was released in 2002. So it's kind of like when I mention that, sometimes you forget, where we came from before we actually see what's being shown on this anime. So just to give you a little bit of context when it comes to technology.
Robert, just before you go on, I will say that some of our listeners may not have even been born then.
Some of the what?
Some of our listeners may not have even been born then. They're like, 2002? I was born in 2004.
Exactly. So
it's okay. It's okay, kiddies. I mean, you can go back and watch this anime and find out what it was like. So we had walking computers that said "chi." We had it all. What happened to that, guys? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. So to put a bit of perspective when it comes to technology, right? In 2002, we have Windows XP, right? We have PayPal was just acquired by eBay. Creative Commons was introduced.
Remember that beautiful background of the green meadow with the blue skies?
Yeah.
We all been there some way.
Yeah. Adobe Photoshop 7. Microsoft Office 2002. Open Office 1.
V1, yeah.
Mac OS 10.2, Jaguar.
Wow.
StarCraft, the very first one.
Wow. I have the Nintendo 64 game in here, bro.
Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Xbox Live was released. DirectX 9 was released. QuickBooks was released. GoPro was founded. Napster went bankrupt. and I'm not sure who added that, but
I
the
did.
the Winamp popularity.
Winner, bro.
Yeah.
So that's
With the skins that you can put like filters, so you look different too.
Mhm.
so the reason why I feel is very important is because when you watch this anime today, it's you don't realize it seems a little bit more realistic because of things that going on, especially with ChatGPT and all the stuff that's going on right now. But in 2002, this was complete fiction. And you look at this like, oh, it's completely science fiction. It's like, oh, it would have been nice. Now it's scary because now it's a lot closer to what we see on the anime. And this is the reason why I want to bring this up prior to the plot, is so you guys
Good
get a
idea.
little bit of context.
I would say that Journey to the Moon versus the moon landings in 1969 is the same sort of interaction as Chobits and Today
Yeah.
with ChatGPT.
Oh yeah.
We are getting very close.
Okay, so let's go back and I'm sorry I interrupted you. I just feel it was important to mention
You
that
can-
for the plot.
You completely harsh my flow, man. How am I ever going to pick this back up again? Like this. Logline. In a world where personal computers have evolved into humanoids being called Persocoms, a young man named Hideki finds an abandoned Persocom in the trash. Now, I should mention that Hideki is a farm boy from the sticks, and he's never seen one before. So this is his first introduction to it. All the lads and ladies in Tokyo are like walking around with them like they're nothing. And he's like, so he's as stunned as the viewer, and as the viewer substitute, he does a very good job of being as stunned as we are, trying to wrap our heads around this reality that they've got in this anime. As he unravels the mystery surrounding his new Persocom, who he names Chi, he discovers a unique bond and embarks on a journey of love, self-discovery, and the blurred lines between humans and machines. Okay, do you want me to go through the plot summary of all the episodes?
Yeah, all 10. I think it's
right.
short enough, right?
Well, they're pretty short. I hope everybody doesn't get bored listening to my voice for that long. Okay, takes a deep breath. Episode 1, She Awakens. Hideki Motosuwa, a struggling student in Tokyo, discovers an abandoned Persocom, a humanoid computer, in a pile of trash. Despite being outdated, the Persocom is still operational. Hideki takes her home and names her Chi. As he explores Chi's functions, he realizes she is different from other Persocoms. Now, I don't believe she was outdated. She had never actually been activated before. She was sort of new in box.
Have you seen the entire thing, by the way, before
No, I
I
haven't.
say my comment? No?
I haven't, but I do believe that she had some memories that she lost.
Something happened before, for sure. That's very implied.
She is not new.
Mm-hmm.
However, she is not outdated.
That booty got mileage.
She might be old, but she's not outdated because her model never entered the market, and anything in the market, doesn't matter what's the most powerful, the fastest Persicon when it comes to processing time, doesn't even match to a heel of what Chobits does.
So basically, she's a supercomputer that was never released to the public and is still at the top end of specs, even though she's been
an
around.
alien were with a nice booty.
Oh my god! I think we lost.
That's a pretty good summary. I think that kind of covers it. Okay,
we lost Captain.
I mean, but who the heck finds a freaking Alienware in a trash can? That's the thing.
This
Not
is
me.
actually more like, if you have an Alienware, this is more like a military top secret computer.
It's the Alienware that they're gonna release
with a
probably in 10
booty
years.
to match.
It's an Alienware that you're probably gonna see in 10 years.
And before I continue, what is the latest? What is the last episode that you saw, Ray?
11.
11. Okay. Gio, you finished the entire thing, right?
No,
Okay.
I didn't. I think I watched it up to 10.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, yeah, I watched the entire thing. I don't know how many times. All I can say is a supercomputer. I mean, it's a military grade. And I'm talking about a military grade computer that most military governments want to get their hands on and they can't. So
And he found her in the trash.
that should say something. And there's a reason why he found it in the trash.
Uh-huh.
There's a very good reason. And I can explain it too after we finish the plot.
Okay.
So I'm going to spoil the crap out of the entire anime.
Yeah, go for it. I don't mind. So, episode 2, Chi goes to the city. Hideki takes Chi to the city to have her memory checked, hoping to uncover her origins. They visit a custom Persocom store where they meet Minoru, a Persocom expert. Minoru helps Hideki understand that Chi is a Chobit, a rare and highly advanced Persocom with human-like emotions. Episode 3, Chi learns. Hideki enrolls Chi in a special Persocom school to help her learn and adapt to the human world. Despite her initial difficulties, Chi's childlike innocence and curiosity wins the hearts of her classmates and teachers. Hideki begins to develop feelings for Chi. Now, I would mention that it doesn't mention it here, but Hideki is seriously poor. He's a struggling student.
Country boy.
He's a country boy, and he doesn't have much money from his parents. He's trying to live on a part-time job. And now he's got this military-grade supercomputer girlfriend who he's trying to maintain. Now, you can install software into Persocoms, but you have to purchase it, and it costs money, and he doesn't have the money, so he can't afford the software. So he just has to rely on her inbuilt learning function. Except that her inbuilt learning function is military-grade supercomputer level. So it's like, yeah, we'll sort that out.
You
No
imagine what
worries.
kind of operating system she might need? Because, I mean, he can't buy one because he doesn't know what to install. So they're waiting for her to learn how to talk so she can tell them what she needs to buy. But if it's military grade, you imagine how much he cannot afford it.
No. But the sad thing is, when he found her, the scene is brilliant. When he finds her, he's walking along saying, "Oh, I could never afford a Persocom. It's not like I could find one lying in the trash or anything." And he walks past her, and she's lying in the trash. And then he goes, "Oh my god!" And he runs away very like Institute of Silly Walks run away and hides behind a power pole and looks around the power pole and goes, "Oh my god, I've been in Tokyo like 24 hours and a scene of a murder. Oh my god, yeah." And then he notices the years and goes, "Oh, it's just a Persocom." Phew.
And then he walks away. And then realizes.
Yeah. He likes, "Oh, it's just so relieved," turns around, goes to walk away. He goes, "Ah!"
Oh, wow. You want me
It
to
is-
tell you the reason why he found it in the trash?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay.
I need to.
Do you know the manager?
Yes.
You know who she is?
No.
Okay.
I know she's hugely sus.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
And you know, since the beginning of and I remember the first time that I watched this, it wasn't that obvious from the first couple of episodes. But as you watch this show, you're like, what's going on? Who is this person? Really? And again, I'm going to spoil the crap out of this thing.
I've watched enough animes to pick a sus character really quickly. And the way she just wasn't reacting to porno sites, it's like, yeah, she's sus.
Yeah.
Because every other female anime character who wasn't in on it would get totally embarrassed and totally upset and be beating the MC for saying stuff like that. But she just does not react. And it's hugely sus.
So she is kind of like Chi's mother. She is, oh no, let me rephrase that. She was a scientist in combination with her rest in peace husband. That were working on military grade supercomputers for the government. They couldn't have kids, so they created two. And what's so different about the Chobits is that we kind of talked about that in previous episodes. how there is AI and then there is the singularity.
Hmm.
So all the Chobits, I mean, let me rephrase that. Not all the Persicons, which I love that for PC, personal computer. Um, all the Persicons that are in this reality, they are AI. This is how they interact and how they give you the sense of humanity, even though they're not human. And this is just a program that they have. And you can buy different programs for different things you want. So it can get really expensive. Now, Chi and her sister, they were true singularity AI.
Yeah. So as I've said before, the ones that are a simulacrum of intelligence are expert systems, and it's very hard to tell that they're not intelligent, but they aren't. They haven't got consciousness.
Something happened. And again, I'm warning you. You want to pause, watch the entire thing. It's really short. It doesn't matter.
It's not as short as Raf from Dusk, but it's short.
Yeah. So what happened was, and I'm trying to remember what was the sister's name.
Freya.
Right. Yeah. So they were happy. They were a happy family. They have Rhea and Chi and the husband. Then
Freya, as in the goddess from mythology. Freya.
and
It's on.
it might make sense too because of how she, So the government found out, and now
Damn government.
now they're in hiding. They're and then while all this is happening, the husband was suffering from an illness, and to top it off, Freya was in love with the husband.
Okay, so the usual complications of a anime.
That actually, I was like, what? Really? So when the husband died, Freya couldn't take it. She kind of lost all will to live. And she deactivated herself. So what they don't tell you until the end, though, this is what everybody is aware of what's going on, is that she actually installed herself into Chi. So she's kind of like a dormant, not really dormant, a second sentience that chooses not to be awakened, and she's there. She's just not talking or letting you know. So
she's backseat driving, basically.
Yeah, kind of. So what happens when all this thing happened? The mother didn't want anything to happen to Chi. She already lost Freya. So when and this is all what I'm about to say wasn't really expressed in the anime, but I kind of fill in the blanks. When Hideki came in and he saw, he was a nice guy. She probably heard from him prior because she was already expecting him. But the whole thing is the fact that she wanted this. It would be the perfect way to hide Chi. Is like it's a new Persicon, and she actually dragged that all the way to the garbage before Hideki would come in, and then hope that he would find her.
So she was planted there for him to find.
Exactly. Now,
because the landlady had heard that he wanted one but couldn't afford it.
He couldn't afford it. Correct. Now, she did not account for something, right? She was kind of hoping that Hideki would find her, but she didn't account with the fact that he would not understand that she needs the program. And that's why we see when he picked her off out of the garbage, he saw the how you call it, the disc with all the
Thanks, Batman.
programming. Huh?
Gee,
Oh, God. You saw the
I am Chi.
oh, yeah.
give me your panties. Give me your panties.
No. You're saying it
Uh,
wrong. And the animation is underpants.
Well, if you go for the sub version, it's pantsu.
Give me your underwear. After you
So,
run a marathon with him, I want them.
well, if you're not watching YouTube, you're missing out. So, Ray, did you notice that he left a disc in the floor?
Yep, saw that.
So
Was that supposed to be installed into Chi, and that
Correct.
was from the mother?
So that's one thing that
Yeah.
I don't. Well, maybe she didn't know he was such a.
Dumbass.
Well, that's one word to say it.
I think that he escaped him. Like he had no idea, and that's why he didn't even see it.
He
would
never
not.
had a Persicon before, so it makes sense that he would not know that he needs that disc.
A main component.
Mhm.
It's like me being a country boy and buying a new gaming console, and I never buy any games when you actually need games. Oh, controllers. It's like I got the PS5, and like, okay, let's play it. Like, I don't know how to play, man. I don't know. You have controllers? No.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very obvious when you watch this anime and his interaction with his friend. And it's like my favorite interaction is like, okay, let's find out what it's installed. And so let me connect it. And it's like, oh, you did it. And it's like, oh, cool. So what is no data? And I just buzzed out laughing. That's the extent of ignorance. I mean, he's a country boy. He's never seen a computer before. So of course he's not going to know what no data means. She has nothing installed. And that's one of the cool things about this is the fact that she doesn't have an operating system installed. And everybody's wondering about how is she walking? How is her learning program functioning when there's no operating system installed? And it's because they have no idea that this is a true AI. So,
Yep.
She learnt a lot by copying. So she saw Hideki walking around and realized that she had a similar body and just moved it the way he did.
mm-hmm. So it's like a child. I mean, her memories were erased, right?
Like a child, but the child is Tony Stark.
But I would have to say though that I do have a slight warning, and I want to mention this out and see if you guys experience this as well. And I'm sorry if you hear the background. It's raining really bad, so it's probably being picked up by the mic. But my experience the first time that I watched this, the very first episode, I didn't know what to think. I was on the fence, and I almost did not watch the second episode. And I'm glad I did, because I
didn't follow
really
the 3-episode rule.
no, I didn't. Plus, this is 2002. I don't know. I mean, my experience with anime hasn't been as much as it is now. So
I just wanted to keep watching to listen to the theme tune. It's awesome.
I mean, imagine how confusing if you get a computer. Where would you put it in? In the little microphone jack or in the headphone jack?
yeah, that would be confusing because you don't know. So, so what I wanted to ask you guys is, I mean, you guys seen it recently. I seen this multiple times. So the very first time, and I know it might not be a fair question because for the most part, some of the recommendations that I have given you guys have been good. I'm sure that there has been some out there that you
For
would
the
not
most
like, because
part.
that's how we are, right?
For the most part.
We are humans and we have our different taste. So you already come with an expectation when I mention it that I love this anime. But when I watched this for the very first time, and the reason why I'm mentioning this is for the audience out there, for all the listeners for this of this episode, that they watch that maybe not experienced with anime, and this might be their very first anime. Um, it was slightly uncomfortable in the first episode for me, and that's the reason why I almost did not watch it. I mean, did not watch the second one. Did you experience that, or is this a very poor, um, not fair question? Because my experience when I watched this for the first time was completely different. Now, with all the animes that I have watched, I know that that is to be expected, especially from the first 3 episodes.
Do you want to go first, Gio? I can't hear you, dude.
You go first.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so there's a lot of levels to this question. It is not as straightforward and simple a question as you might think.
Mm-hmm.
The first bias that most Western people have is that animation is for kids.
Oh, I love how many times I got away with shit with that.
Now, in the West, yes, animation was just for kids, except if you count Rooster Teeth and things like that. But most animation in the West is designed for kids, and it becomes I wouldn't necessarily call it a meme, but it becomes a habit of thinking of the average adult when they grew up on cartoons and then stopped watching them because they grew up, that animation is for kids. My wife is a perfect example. She laughs at me every time I watch animation. You're watching that kid stuff. I'm going, you watch a bit of this with me and tell me if it's kid stuff. And
How did that go? How did that go?
And I'll put something on that my son, who's 10, can't be in the room for.
Or is the Legend of the
She's like, giving me that look like, what? This is animation. It's for kids. I go, no, it's not.
Nope.
Like the episode of Mushiko Tensei that just dropped. It's not for kids. The guy's dealing with his erectile dysfunction.
Shut up, man! Don't start it, Ray. Don't start it.
But I mean, a concept of erectile dysfunction is hard for adults to deal with in the first place.
Yeah.
But having it animated for you really fucks up the most Western brains. And this is the reason I brought that up is because this is probably something that Robert was feeling at the time, that his Western brain was telling him this is animation. There shouldn't be anything adult in it, or there shouldn't be anything so confronting in it. And yet, porno sites.
Let me add this. Remember, I had a copy of the Legend of Overfiend 1, 2, and 3 at the time.
So you're already bent and broken psychologically.
Right?
1, 2, and 3. Gio couldn't see 5 minutes on the first one, right?
Now I know why you and Gio are
traumatized for life.
But I might not go as far as thinking that might be it, but yeah, you are right in the fact that I was very, very. It was very uncomfortable for a reason, for some reason. To watch.
Look, Ray. Tell me if he's not picky. This was uncomfortable. A cute anime about a girl throwing the trash like a puppy. But Orisukodoji, this motherfucker can quote it.
He has his proclivities.
Well, I'm going to correct Gio with Chobits and ask him one question. How is she turned on?
By the right place, you turn on any other woman, bro. It's actually pretty accurate and aligned with reality.
That is one of the things that I was uncomfortable with. One of the things. But I just want to mention that out, because
Isn't that how you turn on a real woman?
Yes, it is.
There you go. It's actually it's good sci-fi. It's very realistic.
The problem is if she's shut down at the time, you aren't getting anywhere, man. You're in friend zone.
You could even say that this is hard sci-fi.
It could get hard, yes.
Oh, Okay, so the subject. I am glad I did not follow that feeling. I think I was more curious at the end of the first episode. Um,
Curiosity
and
kills.
that's pretty much the reason why I continue to watch the second one. Again, that is just my perspective at the time. But I watched this so many times that now, and even if I, let's say, for example, your experience now would probably be my experience if I would have watched Chobits now, with all the anime that I have watched up to this day. So it's kind of like to be expected now. Um, and don't get me wrong, there's still some animes that I feel uncomfortable. I mean, Ray, you know of a couple. Like I cannot get what is a girlfriend.
Domestic girlfriend.
Yeah, that one. I can't. I tried. I can't. Sorry.
Dude, if you ever want to challenge yourself, read the manga. It's way worse than the anime.
No.
Like, if you think the anime is disturbing, Gio, I'm going to get you to read Domestic Girlfriend, the manga at some point, and you can tell him how
I'm sold
disturbing it
out.
is.
I'm sold out already.
Yeah, I don't want to. I just want to point out that it's not that bad, right? It's just that was my perception back in 2002.
It's usually not that bad when you dislike it that much, man.
Well, I didn't dislike it. I like this. I mean, it's obvious I love this thing because I watch it. I couldn't tell you how many rewatched I have done of this anime. It's I just totally love this thing. And it's because of all the topics. I just wanted to put that out there because I'm sure, kind of like a disclaimer. Because if you never watched this before, if you are like me, just to expect that and just go over it. It's worth it. The whole anime is amazing.
I might give the listeners and viewers a little bit of a sort of a context on Robert. See, Robert's got these certain proclivities, and I'm not being disgusting or anything here, but he is highly reactive to emotional things. So he loves rom-coms, but he hates the sad bits. I understand that some of them can be harsh, and anime has some pretty harsh rom-coms. I got to say, shows like Real Girl. What was another one? Real Life. There's some really heart-wrenching moments in those shows, which most people who think cartoons are for kids will get gut punched by them.
Oh yes.
And there's some, I will say, Gio, before you get to it, there's some gut punches in Domestic Girlfriend, the manga as well. Like it was like,
I like that.
Jesus. But anyway, so Robert likes the emotional stuff, but he doesn't like the negative emotional stuff. And so he likes rom-coms. But he loves sci-fi. And if you can get a rom-com sci-fi going like this, he is at home. He's like got the popcorn and the Pepsi. Hopefully Gio's gone and got him a Pepsi. But he's got the Pepsi. And he's... if you watched our last week's show, you'll know the reference. And he will be happy as Larry as long as he can, turn away and try not to listen, go la 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 when the horrible things are happening. But that's Robert. Those are the things that float his boat, and this show's got them in spades, and I can understand why he loves it.
So to put it in perspective, and I just want to give this is kind of like the way that I answered the first question here, like how old was I and what was my first impression. So I just wanted to hear your perspectives, and I know your perspectives are going to be way different because you have had a lot more anime under your belt than the amount of anime that I watched at the time that I watched this for the first time. And secondly, you already heard it from me that is one of my favorite animes. So you already have this expectation going in. So I'm just kind of wondering, on the first episode, what was your first impression? And any, I don't know if Gio or...
Gio, go first this time.
My first impression? I mean, here's the thing about it. I was actually making a Pepsi for you, Ray.
Oh, thanks.
My first impression
Make
about...
mine,
Oh, there you go. Zero? Pepsi Zero?
No, Pepsi Max.
Oh, that's so meta.
Zero sugar, caffeine for days.
That's so meta. Max drinking Pepsi Max.
That's right.
Yeah, Max is drinking Pepsi Max.
How do you make that Pepsi, Ray?
How do you think I get more max?
Like this.
Oh,
No, PG-13.
Gio, answer the question.
I mean, Robert, I like. I am very chaotic when it comes to like watching things that can be seen as social nuances. That's actually one of the very things that tickles my curiosity and humor me when I'm watching something. So this show was all about it when you think about it.
Oh, for
And
sure.
it touches a lot of those things that everybody knows, many of us do, but nobody wants to talk about it. You know?
Oh, I want to talk about
No, me too. Me too. We are three weirdos here, so we don't give a shit about
it.
that. You know?
That's right. That's right.
And if the listeners want
Old,
to talk about it, we have a Discord.
Yep.
old enough to know better, live long enough to not to give a shit.
Yep. Exactly. No, what you got? Not surprised, but not disappointed.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, I really love like the whole development too of you're asking me the general, right, of the whole season.
Well, it's just like your first episode, the first episode, and you already heard what my reaction was the very first time that I watched the first episode, and how
I watched it with you the first time.
I almost did not watch the second episode because of it.
Well,
Almost.
Robert, my first time was with you. Ugh.
Okay,
But I mean, I loved it because on top of that, you get to enjoy the progression of Hideki, growing from being pow pow. uh,
I have all the hashtags ready.
hashtag Lord. So you get to see also the progression of Hideki growing and adapting himself to the modern new life. I am your sci-fi daddy.
oh, nice.
And if you're not watching on YouTube, you're missing out big time because I am great entertainment. That's
and,
everything I'm gonna say.
and we don't give
we,
any context.
I
uh,
spent too much time laughing at Gio.
at me or with me?
I don't
Yes.
know.
I started a joke. But the joke was on me. It's fun. Well, going back to, I'm great at just traveling from traveling from derailing men to back in there. There you go. But it's fun to watch not only Hideki but also Chi growing into becoming like growing together because there's a relationship between them, and also them separately. Because I mean, by the sixth episode, when I see that she's saying words, I'm like, "What? This bitch is talking, man!" So it was fun because that was like there's certain things that when you're watching, if they give you like a permanent condition to it, and they tell you no, that's not gonna change, you're like, okay, you give up on it. So it gives you that little nice surprise too. And I think that the mannerism of Hideki too, of being like a country boy, uh, allow him not to be that socially awkward to reach out to people and talk to others or look for some people. It's mostly like when he's awkward or something with a cute girl or something, it's because he doesn't know her. But it's not like he is awkward enough to know as like when he goes to the manager, for example, and he needs clothes. He didn't feel bad about asking for that. It was totally normal. So he's a very normal guy with very naive, if you think about it,
Yeah.
because of the life he's led. And I mean, it's kind of heartwarming to see that even like when he comes from that simple life into the city, it doesn't really destroys him because we've seen many other IPs that we like. That's most of the time that's what happens. That's why people that have been in cities for long, they want to escape and leave it. They want to go into their country and live in there in peace. Uh, and it's a nice relationship that they have because it's kind of weird too because it's kind of like a paternal but also like a one-on-one conjugal relationship they have, Chi and Hideki. But
You
I
know,
mean, she's not related to him, so it doesn't make it weird. But it's nice to see how he cares for her, how he takes care of her, how he teaches her simple things, which is one of the things that I value more in life too. Which is the simple things in life. I think usually are the more important things, you know. And the movies, the anime is full of these little details all around.
Yeah.
So, Ray, what was your first impression on the first episode? I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be. Oh, it's never going to be like mine. My
No.
first impression.
Well, I just before I jump into that, I just wanted to add something to what Gio was saying, and
Oh, okay.
you brought up the whole social interaction thing with the country boy in the big city,
Hmm.
and I hadn't really looked at it like that. And you're so right, because from my understanding, the bigger the population center, like the more people stacked on top of each other, the less social they are with the
Yep.
people around them. They'll either have a small circle of friends or nobody.
Hmm.
And if they're not near their family, they'll just be isolated. And apparently, if you remember, I was watching shows about Japan and their social situations, the problems they're having with their birth rate and everything.
Hmm.
And part of that problem is social isolation. There's just
No,
so many
I mean
people
that
around all the time.
the problem with birth rate in Japan is I just need to make a trip over there.
Well,
Then
you
it'll
better
be
get your
fixed.
tickets.
Couple of years and I'll be like the next lineage of descendants of Japanese people.
But I'm actually being quite serious here in that the social situation over there is very isolating,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and people get to the point where they don't feel like they need to go out and socialize, because they can sit in their tiny little apartment with the TV and the internet on their computer and
On the phone.
just mainline like anime and movies and books, digital books and everything. You don't even have to go out to a bookstore to buy a book anymore.
No, that's true.
You don't have to go anywhere. You can have everything delivered.
You know what anime actually plays how fucked up that reality is, and it happens to a lot of people nowadays. Zombie 100. You remember?
Oh, so yeah, I love
Yeah,
that
the
show.
beginning, the very first episode, the life that he's leading when he started, he's so pumped up that he left college and he's gonna go to his job. And
Mhm.
then by the second day, for a full year or two, yeah, a year and so 14 months, it's like he hates his life. He has breakdowns almost daily,
All
and
he
he
has
doesn't
is
take care
work
of
and
himself.
sleep.
Yeah, he sleeps sometimes in the office. Like it's like he's
Yeah.
being exploited, and like sometimes that happens. And I mean,
He
I've seen
doesn't
it.
leave for 3 days.
Yeah, no, it's
Like he
it's
just wants
insane,
to
man. Like
come and have a
I can
shower.
still pull out 2 days, but it takes a toll on me. You know, and the younger that you are, the more you do it, the quicker it gets to you.
Mhm.
But basically, it's a reality, and I saw a study that proves that this can be really happening in many places. That says that 80% of the worldwide population does not have the critical thinking to oppose a mandate, even when it's not right or fair. So it's easy to play that out and think that people are easily exploited when somebody is abusive and they don't have the strength to just fight back and be willing to risk losing a job. You know.
Well, black companies couldn't exist if that wasn't the case, because people would just leave,
Hmm. That's true.
but they don't.
And it was refreshing of Chobits that you really didn't get to see that. So it was like the fairy tale of what will happen if a country boy comes to the city and have a great life. Really, think about it.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying about what you made me realize about this show, Gio, and thank you for doing it, was that in the country there's less people, so it's easier to interact with them because you're not overwhelmed.
Hmm.
And he actually says in the very first episode, when he's looking at the window with all the Persocoms lined up, and he's talking to himself, and everybody's like looking at him like, what's wrong with you? Why
Hmm.
are you talking to yourself? And he's like, well, I got to talking to myself because all I had to talk to were cows, and they don't talk back.
Just like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's actually studies that have been done that says that people who talk to themselves are actually more intelligent than people who don't.
Did you know that there was another study? I don't remember the source, but it says that almost 60% of the world population don't have an inner voice. that talks to
What?
them.
Wow.
Wow.
That's terrifying to me, man.
Well, I mean, the inner voice is a continuum, and I think I've mentioned this previously, but when I was a
Self-awareness
kid,
and consciousness, right?
well, yes, but if you've had a very negative upbringing, it can be like a fucking sledgehammer. And that's what I had in my head, and I had to train myself out of it. My inner voice poo-pooed every positive thing I tried to do.
Oh,
Everything.
I've been there, man.
Yeah.
So, I had that motherfucker's loathing on me.
Mm. So you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it becomes like a mecha. It's not even a coping mechanism, but it becomes like a reflex that is hard
Yeah.
to fight off. You know.
Yeah.
So
It's a habit.
when you hear it, for you to get over it, which I have finally done in the last couple of years, but when you get over it, you literally have to tell them fuck off inside of your head. Like you feel crazy that you're telling to your own consciousness, fuck off,
Yeah.
bro.
No, that voice is completely gone from my head now. I mean, I can have negative thoughts, but they don't overpower me
Yeah.
anymore.
No control you or
They're
rule you.
just like you've got your mental page there, and you draw the line down the middle, and you've got your plus column and your minus column, and you're thinking about what you want to do and what the pluses and minuses are. I couldn't do that when I was a kid. I say kid, but I didn't get over it until I was about 25. And the only reason I got over it was because I saw other people out having fun, able to do the things I couldn't do. And I wanted to know why. Why could they do it and I couldn't? And being a good little scientist, because I've been trained in scientific technique, I got to working out what the hell was going on in my head that was causing me to stop doing it. And it was that voice. That voice would constantly, like, I'd look at a girl and she'd smile at me and I go, "Ooh, she's cute. Maybe I should ask her out." And the inner voice would go, "Don't be stupid. You know that nobody likes you. There's no way that she could possibly go out with you. You're just wasting your time. You get all embarrassed and you get all heartbroken and hurt. Don't do it. Just sit there and be useless." And that's what the voice was always telling me. And I followed it for many years and missed out on so many opportunities. It was ridiculous. So, kiddos, if you're listening to this and you've got that voice, you need to do something about it. Don't let it rule your life, because it sucks.
Yeah.
And it's wrong. It is blatantly wrong. It's just
that's so destructful that it could even pull you away from people that really want to help you.
Yeah.
That's how bad it can be. And the only person that can do something about it is yourself. Nobody can do that.
But you know where voices like that come from?
From
Society.
traumas on the past, society, yeah.
Yeah.
From people, it's like caring for what somebody thinks when they don't give a shit of what you think of them.
But many years ago, advertisers realized that fear is the best motivator. So if you critically analyze advertising, it's all about making you recognize a fear, building it up in your mind, and then showing you a product that will solve that problem and making you buy it.
Literally, yeah. I'll call it conspiracy, but it's literally create the need so you can sell the product.
Yes.
Exactly. And it's not a matter of model; it's a matter of business.
But I mean, once the demand is there, you can use fear of missing out, FIFO, FOMO. You can use FOMO to make people buy stuff as well, because so many other people have got it. And you see it in this thing. He desperately wants Persocom because everybody else has got one. He doesn't know what they do. He has to be told what they do. He doesn't even know what they do, because all he knows is they're cute and everyone else has one, so I want one.
Ride the wave.
I mean, it's obvious from the beginning quote of this episode. He had no, they were telling him all that. And he's all excited. Oh, you could do this. You could do that. Oh, my God.
Porno face. Oh, dear. Going back to my first experience of watching this anime, I picked that scene as the quote because I knew there was a meme that went around in the early 2000s. There was a song, and then they put it to characters from
World of Warcraft.
Yes,
I showed
Geo
did
the internet. Yeah. And And if you don't know the meme, go and look it up. It's hiding in the back end of the internet somewhere. But
It's in YouTube. Just look it up.
Bro.
Yeah. But basically, there's a song that basically goes, "The internet is for porn. That was why it was born. The internet is for porn." And the moment I heard them all go, "Porn sites, porn sites," I was like, "Yeah, okay, that's 2002. I remember that." It was really funny. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how things have changed. I remember, and it was around 2002 when they started putting URLs on billboards.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh, that company's got a website. That's a new thing.
Yeah.
These days, it's like, what?
Yeah, everybody has one. Hey, we have one.
We do. It's awesome. You should check it out. Oh dear. Hang on. I'm sure somebody should jump in and press the QR code for the website right now. I pressed it. Did it go away? Nope, there it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's covering your face. So if you're watching YouTube right now, you can just scan that code. If you're listening to our show, just go into the show notes.
There you go. I'll come back. Oh, there I am. Oh, that took away the other thing. That's why.
Yeah, it does. I put it back on. Oh.
Recaptionate.
Look,
The problem is all three of us have commander rights on this thing, and we both press the same button at the same time, and it activates and deactivates. Ooh.
I made a poster for you, Ray, for whenever you guys ask me for a Pexi. This is what I'm gonna show you now.
I can't even read that. Can we make him bigger?
Well, let's do this. Let's bring him over here. There you go.
Here is your Pepsi and enema. Whoa. That's more information than I needed. I just hope you've drunk like 12 cups of coffee, because otherwise it's just not gonna stack up.
And if you don't know what I was doing right now, you should be on our YouTube watching this episode, which is gonna come 1 month after the audio.
Check
Don't
it out,
miss it.
guys.
That's why we have a YouTube, is for these kind of things that you're not seeing.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother level of crazy.
Yep. It's original comedy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Made on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We asked what do I call pants a lot of things.
Yeah.
So again, going back to you.
Oh, derail. Oh, back again.
Jump into the warp engine again. Back into the rails.
So yeah, this anime, the country boy simp in the city kind of storyline, which has been done a lot, but it really works well for this story because he doesn't know anything about the Persocoms or the Chobits or any of these sort of technological wonders that are in the city these days, and neither do we. So he's a perfect viewer surrogate in that they've got to explain shit to him because he doesn't know, and in explaining it to him, explains it to us. So that's great. He makes a really good protagonist. But yeah, I understand what you mean, Robert, because there were. And it's not just the parts that were a bit adult, but it was also some of the comedy was completely over the top, and it actually that was the bit that made me feel more uncomfortable because the guy's reactions are just so strong. And I've waxed lyrical on this before about why I think it doesn't happen as much these days, but they do have their moments where the characters just go completely off the rails in reacting to things. And I kind of get why it happens. And I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to Japanese society and how monitored they are by each other.
Yeah.
I don't know if all our listeners would understand this, but Japan as a society it's kind of weird. The society is very fractured, but it's also very critical. So, and that might be one of the reasons, another one of the reasons why it's fracturing. And what I mean by fracturing is people are just cutting themselves off and hiding alone in their apartments and just avoiding society. Not the least reason for which is you don't have to go out anymore. You can have everything delivered. You can buy everything online. You can get all your entertainment without having to go out and buy it anymore. So there's no great reason, unless you want anime merch, to go out of your door, really. And a lot of people get into the point where they just can't face that anymore, and then they become what's called a NEET, which is basically somebody who doesn't go out. And since COVID, it's got worse, because COVID basically told everybody to stay at home and work from home. And I actually do editing for an IT advisory company, and basically their mandate is as thought leaders in IT. So basically they're doing research and advising companies on the direction that IT is taking, and workplace design and interaction with computers. And so there's a lot of stuff about AI and ChatGPT, but there's also a lot of stuff because of the COVID situation, how everybody had to start working from home, about workplace reform and how you don't have to go into a cubicle in a big office building from 9 to 5 every work day, depending on if your country does work days 4 days a week or 6 days a week or whatever it happens to be. But you don't have to cubicle anymore. You don't have to go into work. You can work from home. And that was the last sort of impetus to leave the house. You had to work to make money so that you could live. But if you can work from home as well, then suddenly there is absolutely no honest reason that you have to leave your house.
God, I miss those talks in the water fountain.
Oh, yeah. So that can be isolating, but in Japanese society, there's also a lot of social pressure, like people watching each other, and people get reported to the police if they...
And prejudice, too.
Oh, yeah, there's large amounts of prejudice. But this is, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can come over to our Discord and tell me I'm full of shit if you like, but I want you to have legitimate sources to back it up, that their society...
Ray, when you say something like that, you have to do ting. There you go.
I need to get the angle right so you can't see my eyes anymore. It's just...
And I'll do like I grab my gun and I'll do like oh my god, that Nick Samuel Jackson. I dare you, motherfucker.
No, I'm not being quite that. That's your job. That's not my job. But yeah, the populace is at once very critical about their neighbors, and they monitor each other. But also they're trying to get away from each other. And the more people they're surrounded by, the less they want to interact with them, because it just gets too much. And the whole situation with technology and COVID and everything, making people isolate even more, it is a real problem. People have lost the ability to socialize. And they don't go out, and they're interacting with machines way more than people. Which brings us back to the anime, where now, as I said before, some smartass said, hey, it's really annoying to try and work out what these computers are telling us, because, you get error codes and things, blue screens and error codes, which were way more common back when than they are these days. But you get these weird codes, and nobody knew what they were unless they looked them up on the internet and happened to find the right code. And even with a language description rather than a code, it was still really hard, if you didn't know how computers work, to know what their actual error was. And that's coming from somebody who's been building his own computers for 25 years. I have trouble working out what the fuck they're talking about. So the average person would have no hope. So some smartass who was in the sitting around the table thinking up an idea for an anime was So imagine, everybody has a computer like we do now, except instead of it sitting at home taking up, space in the corner, it could walk around with you, and it was cute, or you can make it look the way you wanted, which was cute or buff or whatever. And it could talk to you and tell you what was wrong with it. It communicated like people do. And they said, hey, yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do an anime about that. And we got Chobits. But while the premise is simple, the complexities of the story are not. And I haven't delved into the entire complexities, but going on what Robert said, there is a whole bunch of them. Is that correct?
Oh yes, and this is one of the things that I love about this anime is just how complex it gets.
I mean, great stories are those ones that rather than spoon feed you from the outset and have no surprises in store, they make you think. I mean, I know not everybody wants to have to think about their entertainment and would rather just sit back and vague out, but I'm one of the thinkers. I always want something to challenge my mind. And that's why I like sci-fi, because it almost constantly challenges your mind.
I mean, don't go further. One of my best friends, we were watching. And he loves 80s and 90s movies, and he was showing me all these stupid comedies. They are fun, but to me, if he doesn't have anything interesting, I just get detached from the plot right away, and I'm on my phone. I just walk away and do something else. You know, and I have to explain it several times. Like, that looks like a stupid comedy. Does it have good plot? Now he's getting more my taste. So, let's watch a movie. Okay, what you got there? He's giving me like two or three good movies, but he already knows. And I'm the same way. Like, if it's stupid and there's not like a motive or anything behind it, it feels like a waste of the time. You know. And I wanted to mention, you guys, you two can check it, and our listeners too. It's not really an official shout outs, but I like watching this guy. His name is Takashi from Japan. I have it on Instagram, and he's on YouTube. And he basically interviews foreigners and native Japanese people in Japan to show all these intricacies about Japanese culture. And it's very true to what you were saying, Ray. Like, for example, there's a lot of foreigners, as I said, they have the hardest time to rent an apartment just because they're foreigners, because people don't want them to bring their cultural differences into their living space. Somebody like me for tattoos, if I go to a train in Japan, they will look at me with with the eyes. They will give me the look. So I have to cover them, if I want to be treated with common respect. And and it's not that it's a bad thing, really. The way that I see it is, to me, it's just a different cultural perspective. You know, for them, it's a normal thing. For us, it's not, because the normal thing for us is not normal on the other side of the globe.
Well, there's a lot of people who can't think outside their own skull. They've got no empathy, and they just can't see things from other people's points of view, and they're really hard to get along with. And then you have people who have empathy, but their environmental point of view, you might say, is quite limited. So, they haven't gone out into the world, or they haven't looked into the world to find out how it's different and how different peoples and cultures react to different things. And so while they may be able to think outside of their skull into somebody else's shoes, they can't think culturally that way. But the best people have world experience and understand that not all cultures think about the same things in the same way. And their communication ability goes up because they don't presume that what they're saying is the only way to view something.
Yeah.
And they're the best people. Make friends with those people, because you'll have a lot more fun.
That's the thing. I'm sure that the three of us and many of our listeners too have heard that saying, "Tell me who you're with, and I'll tell you who you are." And that is very truth. And at the end of the day, even if you're with bad people, even if you're not bad, but by just wanting to be accepted and becoming a pushover, you can be dragged into something that is not aligned with your moral compass.
Oh, you're in the Ku Klux Klan?
I've seen it played out many times when I see somebody complaining about their friends, and I'm like, "Why are you friends with somebody like that?" Oh, because I don't want to be alone. And it's a sad thing that we are able to be so gullible because we don't want to be alone. We're willing to pay a price that is way too high for it. You know.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've known people who were like that. I have a friend who back in high school bridged a whole bunch of cliques. Like he could practically go anywhere, but I thought he was really disingenuous in that he didn't hold a set of morals. He just muted to whichever group he was in at the time.
Like a
Even
sponge.
even to the point where he would pick on the group that I was in, which was the geeks, and then he'd come and join us and be nice to us. And I'm like,
That's so uncomfortable, man.
yeah, he was one of those. But you know, people who are honest to their ideals, but don't force them on other people are the ones that I appreciate.
You just
I
remind
mean,
me a very good quote from Marcus Aurelius that says, who is friends of everybody, it is friend to none."
yeah, true enough.
And that happened to you plays out perfectly there because he was your friend. Then he picked on you and your friends, and then he wanted to play like cool again.
Yeah, he wasn't the instigator, but he went along with it.
Yeah, that's the thing. When something makes the opposition, that's like thinking that not making a choice it's all right. People don't understand that not making a choice it is a choice and it has consequences.
Mm.
And he not standing up for what he believed was right and defending you when that happened plays out perfectly on that hypothesis. You know,
So
Well,
you think that Hideki found good friends when he came to Tokyo?
that's the thing. I
yeah,
don't think that he found people that were like at least all the way through that I watched. He didn't find somebody that bullied him, picked on him, or was an asshole to him.
Yeah, but that's not
The neighbor guy,
that wasn't the question. So what I said was, so he found the right person when he came to Tokyo.
all the right people, all of them that interact with him throughout his path. The guy like when he wanted to get the Mister Super Genius. I don't remember his name.
Oh,
And then was his
the
little
little
kid.
kid.
The little kid, bro. Like this little kid had all the reasons to be an asshole to him, but he was
Yeah.
the nicest person.
Yes.
Even though
Minoru Kikabunji, I think.
Kikabunji.
Kikabunji,
Kikabunji. Minoru
Kikabunji,
Kikabunji. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's one.
Kikabunji, like he had all the reasons to be rude to him, and he didn't. He was very hospitable to him, and on top of that, he burned like four of his Persicons trying to find out what's happening with Chi. And he
Yeah,
didn't.
he
Don't
didn't
sweat
he
it.
didn't he didn't do that out of the kindness of his heart. He wanted
No,
to know.
but still, if you think about it, there was some kindness there because he put at risk knowing what was going to happen, even his favorite Persicon, which he had an emotional attachment to it.
Yuzuki.
So right there, that single-handed act showed that the kid was a good-hearted person.
He built Yuzuki in the form of his deceased older sister,
Hmm.
And then fell in
and
love with her.
well, he tried to recreate his sister, and he at the same time relied on her for emotional support, but also
Yeah.
realized that it wasn't his sister. So he was he was split down the middle as to whether or not it was useful.
Yeah.
And then he fell in love with her.
Mm.
And that's, it's interesting because early on the season, I can't remember if it was the first episode. I can't remember which episode it was, where Hideki went to see him for the first time. That scene that we're talking about.
Hmm.
Um, when he's walking out, he says, "I have an advice for you: don't fall in love if you don't want to be hurt."
Yeah.
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chi goes to the city.
But
So
It
didn't
was
I
the one
watch
you
it?
almost didn't watch, Robert.
exactly, the one that I almost did not watch.
But did I miss it, or like was there a specific important character on the whole series that was horrible to Hideki or Chi?
No, and to be honest with you, these are the type of stories that I like, where there's technically not a villain,
Hmm.
and even when the villain shows up, it's really not a villain,
I've
but
heard that being used for bullshit too.
but the villain, but,
There's not really a bad guy here.
but the villain in the story is, or not is, but was it's all the bad situations.
Yeah.
And I've seen many stories like that, and I think they're my favorite. And in part, I have to give it to the writer, because it is very easy to write a story that has a really well fleshed out bad guy,
Hmm.
and you have that yin and yang thing going on. However, I think it's harder. And Ray, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think it's a lot harder to write a story without a bad guy and give bad situations that the protagonist has to overcome.
Mm, I don't know if it's a lot harder, but it's definitely a different style. And going on the number of one-dimensional bad guys that have been written about in stories over the years, I don't think writing bad guys is easy either, because unless you're a psychopath or a sociopath, it's really hard to write someone like that because you just don't get it.
Yeah. And honestly, it's like usually when you have a bad guy, there's a motive, there's a trauma, there's a revengeful feeling behind it. That person was also like injustice, like suffering injustice from some sort indirectly from the other group. So at the end, even the villains get that closure where the audience can see, oh, that's what happened to him. You know?
Actually, I think writing a villainless story where the situations of the bad guys is actually easier, because when you're writing a character, if you want them to be believable, you have to get inside their heads. And if you're a nice person trying to write a bad person, or a bad person trying to write a
I
nice
want to see
person,
Robert writing a bad
it's
guy.
it's not exactly.
I'm gonna hit you with cotton candy.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
I'm going to torture you with awesome sex for 10 days. You what?
Don't forget the back rubs.
Oh my god, that reminded me. Because of how she, uh, how you would turn on. I'm assuming
Yeah.
this is true to a Chobits, or maybe true to a Persicon. But I watched this with my wife, and we were having a chuckle because she's saying, like, imagine if they're in their intimate space. It would be on off, on
On
off,
off, on
on
Yes.
off.
off,
Yeah.
on off.
It's like the old
Literally,
chestnut of two Jedis having a lightsaber duel, and they just keep turning each other's lightsabers on and off with the Force.
literally, it will be like, baby, I'm gonna make you roll off your eyes. So good.
But she'd be going like ah 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 ah.
Oh my god, it's funny.
Imagine it's like watching porn,
How many?
trying to get off and changing the channels back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
News, sex, news porn, news porn, news porn.
Oh,
Imagine how many times you'd hear the startup sound while you were having sex.
Dun, 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 dun.
oh god.
Bang, bang, bang.
There is a question that I want to ask. And when I watch this is obviously a rom-com, right? It's a sci-fi rom-com.
Is it?
Uh,
Did I say something about that about 15 minutes ago?
so do you think, and this is like why I wish I would had a female perspective. I mean, in this conversation, I had the female perspective at home because me and my
You're
wife
connected. You're
together.
connected to your feminine side.
Um, for yeah, um, it's not typical, and notice how I said typical because I love it. Right, that's my cup of tea. For typically you want like an action anime, like Dragon Ball or Naruto or stuff like that.
What do you know about Dragon Ball, bro?
And and typical rom-com, it's not something you go out there and watch. Also, just so you know, I did not know this was a thing until I watched the first episode. No one really recommended it to me. I just found it in the wild when I watched it a while ago. But why I'm saying all this is I find it very curious because every time I mention this anime, no one seemed to know this anime. I mean, is this what happened to you guys when I mentioned it?
Yep.
Is
Yeah, I
this my
think. You want me to give you the reason for that? I think it's because anime is becoming more popular now with new generations. But I'm sure that it was way more difficult for you and Ray, which are one generation behind me, to find people that like anime. And for me, it was just the same because people thought they were cartoons. And no, animation and anime are not the same thing. I will even venture to say that PG-13 anime is not even at 10% of all the anime that there is out there.
Magical girls.
oh my god, I couldn't.
Having said that, apparently there is a magical girls anime out there that will break you. It is
Uh,
not a PG-13 one.
okay.
Schoolgirls was good. School Days was good.
Oh,
So
the guy who abused me up until episode 8 about how crap it was.
Yeah, but I
Has
didn't have a
changed
drop
his
of blood till last episode, bro.
But how good was it?
It was good. I mean, it was
The-
necessary. It wasn't good. It
build
was
up,
necessary, man. It
the
was
build up,
necessary.
the build up was also necessary.
But yeah, bro, don't watch it, bro.
yeah,
Don't watch
Robert
it, bro.
would not deal well.
I
I
No,
would
do
bro.
want
continue.
Robert to watch.
You'll have Robert in his chair for like 30 minutes, like
Robert will be scarred. Yeah.
Fetal position.
fetal position. Swallow
So
me, Earth.
going back to what I was saying, it is my experience with this anime is every time I mention it, no one seems to know about this anime. And it makes me wonder, is it because it's a rom-com? Because most people prefer things like, I'm just putting Naruto out there as an example. But things like that, even today, right?
Put Naruto back in your pants.
Because even
Stop pointing it out as an example.
even it, what's that anime called? Slice of Life. Even Slice of
Yeah.
Life is preferred over your typical rom-com. Now, do you feel that this might be part of the reason as to why this is not so known? And also,
Maybe.
do you? I'm sorry.
Maybe.
And the other part of that question is, do you think? And this is why I feel we really need a female perspective on that question. Do you feel that this is more of a female anime? But I also have my question on that because the perspective is from a male.
But what if the male character is portrayed, drawn, or created by a female?
Well, I don't know that. I would have to actually research that. Unfortunately, I don't even know who created this one, and I watched it so many times. But that's a question that I wonder because even back on the day, people would prefer those exciting animes, and this is more of a soft rom com that happens to have lots of sci-fi. What do you think about that? I mean,
Here,
I
here's your
found that
answer,
very
Robert.
curious.
Here's your answer, Robert. Clamp was the group that wrote Chobits.
Mhm.
And it says here that Clamp is an all-female Japanese manga artist group.
Okay, so there you go.
There you go. That's probably
That's why it's
why.
soft.
And not only that, but I mean, at least I don't know in Australia. I think the United States is not much different back in 90s or 80s, where you will be considered a nerd or an otaku just for liking anime. But that doesn't mean that you necessarily will be. But I think that you would need to be an otaku to like anime enough that you will get into things that are more like watching a regular series of drama. That will make you allow you to enjoy that good anime because there's a lot of slice of lives and rom-coms that are funny as hell.
Yes.
You know.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. I could come up with a list of about 20 without too much trouble.
Yeah.
but I think that makes it a niche also in a sort of genre. Not only anime, but being rom-coms and slice of life. Most people that I would know that like anime were into the action, good fights, the epicness, adventure, fighting dragons.
Battle anime, as it's known.
Not only that, like Gundam Wing, for example. Yeah, it had battle, but it was very political. For example, Gundam
One
Wing.
Piece.
Like I watched Gundam Wing. My best and oldest friend. We know each other since we're 4. He's crazy about all Gundam, and like I couldn't watch more than one because I got bored of it. But it's because it's so political. It's not really, you think, mobile suits and fights. No, man, you will see a mobile suit and fight every 10 episodes, and it's just like 40 for the whole thing. So that's why probably it's not so popular if you think about it. Don't go further. Filmmaking. Robert for One Piece. Yeah, no. But I think that's what makes it also not so mainstream. It's that most people that watch an anime watch probably the most popular ones. Like, oh, like let's put 10 years back. Oh, you watch anime? You probably only know about Naruto, Bleach, and Dragon Ball, maybe. But like you would talk to somebody about something like Berserker or something like Evangelion, and either they didn't know about it or they didn't like it.
Oh, Evangelion was pretty big in the late 90s.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was.
Huge.
But like none of my, I will tell you, I could say that none of my friends, besides that specific one that I mentioned, either liked it or bothered to even continue watching after one episode, because they were
That
like, "This is
that's
just
because it was too
weird."
deep for them. They were
Of course, it's super
shallow
abstract.
puddles.
It's incredibly abstract, Evangelion. And the funny thing is, I only watched recently, like not even a year ago, the other part of it after the main calamity that they were trying to recreate, and they wouldn't allow Shinji to like join anything, and they had it with the color and shit. I watched only that like not even a year ago. I never finished after like the ultimate fight with. I never continued it, but it
Yeah.
was interesting. But what I'm trying to say with that is it makes it very, it silos subgenres of animes when it comes to that.
Oh.
In Japan, it's different because in Japan it's common culture to watch anime. Everybody does watch anime, you know. So it's different. It's like when you were introducing me, Robert, to Korean drama.
Okay.
There's a lot of very good series. The one with the my girlfriend is a nine-tailed fox.
Oh my God, that's such a great.
Such a good series, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, Boys Over Flowers was fun as hell. And
Mm.
City Hunter, I love that series. It's so
Mm.
well made, man.
Mhm.
But when you ask somebody if they like Korean drama, they're like, "What is that?" You know, it's ostracized for the mainstream media worldwide. If you think about it, unless you go and look for it, or it's like K-pop fans. K-pop fans listen only K-pop usually.
Mm.
Like I have a couple of friends that I never knew that they were K-pop fans until you introduced me to K-pop. And then they're like, "Oh, you like K-pop?" And that's everything that they listen to. That's everything they like to listen to. And there's a whole world into there,
Mm.
So that's probably why it's not so popular. Is because it's probably siloed by cultural walls. I think.
Yeah, and you kind of fall into it, right? Like I remember like my K-pop and my K-drama and all that stuff, just as well as the anime that I watch, it's something that I just encounter.
Mm-hmm.
I just fell into
Some of
it and loved
them
it
are.
and just continued with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
Hang on, I've got something to add before you move on.
okay.
So you've talked about siloed interests and subgenres and stuff like that, but what you haven't covered is the fact that popularity of niche genre anime is quite difficult to ascertain because it depends on what time of day they were aired. And what channels they were aired on as to whether or not
True.
they got a lot of viewers
True.
and were popular and therefore sold a lot of merch and DVDs and Blu-rays later on,
Yeah.
and whether or not they got extra seasons.
Yeah.
So some animes have done really well, like Mushiko Tensei will go on forever. We just know this. And like book 24 is coming out in the light novels in English at the end of the year.
How many
there's-
books? How many books are the books ahead of the anime? Just to give me a picture.
I think the anime is currently about book 8 or 9, somewhere around there.
Okay, okay.
So there's
And
plenty
they keep
more
on
material.
going, and they keep on going.
Oh yeah, like the story of Mushiko Tensei is epic.
Do you see?
It is.
And this is something completely alien to us, really, Western people. And I think that Australia is very Western too. To my idea, even though they have like their artists and things, like I will have to go and find it. When I find like artists that I like from Australia, I was like, this music is badass. What happened? Like Foster the People, the Hives. When I was in my grunge era, you know, there's a lot of fun stuff, but it's very westernized, so it's very similar.
Did you ever listen to the Cockroaches? They're a Sydney band.
The Cockroaches? Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you know the
Interpol.
Cockroaches?
Interpol. Have you heard of Interpol?
Yeah. No. Just let me finish with the Cockroaches. The Cockroaches became hugely famous, but not as the Cockroaches. Do you know?
How?
Do you know who they are?
Who they are?
Um,
That's what. Because I know there was cockroaches, and many years ago, bro. Talking about more than 15 years ago, or 10 years ago at least. The cockroaches.
Yeah. So this is a band that is way more well known than the Cockroaches, but the genre is children's music.
What?
The Wiggles.
The Wiggles.
The Cockroaches. The members of the Cockroaches were the original Wiggles.
80s.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
think
When
there's
I
only
got
one
my
guy
Australian
left there.
fever, I stumbled upon them.
Yeah. So they were a Sydney band, and they eventually became the Wiggles, and they made millions and millions and millions. That's why the 3 of the 4 guys retired, because they just had so much money they didn't know what to do with it.
Hey man, it's actually brilliant. Do Kicks music, because that's what there's most in the world. Is we just keep on growing and growing.
Anybody in the West who's had a kid knows who the Wiggles are. Hot potato, hot potato. Fruit salad, yummy, yummy. Fruit salad, yummy, yummy.
Memories.
It's all in here, thanks to having a kid.
Did you guys ever watch an old kids series? It was like they were dressed up like animals. It was called the Banana Splits.
Oh yeah, God, I love that show.
It used to be called. I thought it was a 70s, 80s, but I heard it was from 60s actually, and it was called actually Stuff Made Out of Fluff. Was the original name of it, and they were like playing in a music band. They were running golf carts. It was super cool. There was a monkey, an elephant, and a lion.
Yeah, I saw it in the 70s, and it was already the Banana Splits, and I can still sing you the Banana Splits theme song.
I used to watch that every morning, bro.
1
every
banana,
morning.
2 banana, 3 banana, 4. Yeah, but I mean, this is the whole thing with socialization and culturalization of these sorts of things. It's all sort of built into our DNA in the end, and our subconsciousness.
Yep.
The things that we experienced when we were growing up. So, getting the experience of this anime may have been quite difficult, depending on the time of day that it was on, because with the sexual components of this one, it would have had to been a late night anime.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it was a soft late night anime written by women. So I think the population, the percentage of the population that watched anime in the early 2000s was probably mostly men. It was probably like 90% men. So this show probably didn't get a lot of viewership. I mean, men have changed these days, and Robert and I are perfect examples. We love rom-coms.
Yeah,
rom-coms do it for me. I know that Gio likes a bit more blood in his rom-coms.
A bit more.
than we do.
With blood, he's all over it, man.
Yeah.
Actually, they call what I like ultra violence. That's how they call it. I felt cool when somebody told me in one of the servers that I like, that I talked a lot with friends about anime and manga. They told me, "Yeah, dude, you like ultra violence. Me too." I was like, "Yeah." But
did you see the new hashtag I coined during the episode?
That one.
Rombotcom. It's a rom-com with robots.
Now let me ask you guys, because here's the thing. Like I've seen, I'm all into like companionship AIs and androids. I like that
Yeah.
idea, you
Yeah.
know. And there's a big social nuance about that becoming a replacement, because, like we spoke about, I think on a previous episode,
Yeah.
dating is becoming very, very not worth it with so much crap from both sides.
Yeah.
And the thing is, to me, she is conscious and self-aware.
Yes, she is.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so to me, it's completely plausible. Screw what society thinks, but to me, it's completely plausible to have a romantic feeling or connection to another being, even if he's not born, that can feel emotions and absorb them and react to them.
You know, this anime talks about this in particular. Like,
Hmm.
there's two examples that are front and center on this anime. The first example is the teacher at the prep school that Hideki goes to.
Hmm.
The teacher loses her husband to a Persocom. She literally got a divorce. She got one day she went to her house, the door was locked, and she was locked out of her own house. The husband was with their Persicon.
Hmm.
The other example is Hideki's co-worker, the female co-worker. Um, she lost a boyfriend to a Persicon that he later married. Um, so it's this anime is touching those what the future, and this is what I love about sci-fi, is the examination and the experimentation on the topics, the what if on a technology that we are in the brinks of experimenting with, and what would be the 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 dilemmas, the ethical dilemmas that would happen from that. And we see that, and one of the things that I love about this anime is the fact that it experiments with that. What if of the future?
You know, just from what you were saying, then I something just clicked inside my head, and Chobits feels like the prequel to Gene of AI.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I can even link it to Human, the show that we covered.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying this, and I'm going to mention it because you haven't finished the entire thing, but at the end, and I don't know if you noticed this from the first 10 episodes, when she got into that bad job where
Mm-hmm.
she was supposed to be, what was it, a peep show that
Yes.
was being on the internet as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she escaped that. And her sister kind of took over. She's kind of defending her. And
Yeah.
that's kind of like the first interaction that we see with her and her sister, and how she went in like on top of that clock on the plaza, and every Persicon in the entire city just stopped. That's actually a precursor of what power she has. Kind of like the power that the main protagonist on the show Human at the end of the show had, is the possibility that she was going to put in this software on the internet, where is what all the Persicons are connected to, where they actually would wake up and become sentient.
Ooh.
And
So a forced singularity.
a force singularity. And
Nice.
in the end, it happens very interesting though, because typically when you have a story like that and the possibility of something that like that is about to happen, in the end, it either happens or someone destroyed it before it happened. That, usually the possibilities that you have in an IP that has that avenue, or that road to follow. In this one, she kind of chooses not to. Um, and let me give myself a little bit a little background there. That last scene was a little gut wrenching for me. And when I was watching for the very first time that I watched the last episode of this anime, um, I almost cursed the whole thing. All the time that I watched is like, this cannot be it. This is, I don't know if you remember from these episodes when she was reading that book. And in the book, she kind of gets into a trance where the sister is actually talking and saying, there is that one that is for you. Only one for you. And when you find the one that it is for you, then you have to disappear. And it was a precursor for the last episode. And I was like, so when he finally tells her that he loves her, and she finally admits that she loves him, her sister takes over. And all the memories for Chi disappears.
That sucks.
And exactly. And I was just like, no, this anime sucks. I hate it. Oh my freaking God. But the episode hasn't ended yet. I'm just like having all these kinds of feelings.
It is a common sort of
Reaction?
trajectory. No, this is from a writing perspective. It's a common trajectory in I've noticed in rom-coms from Japan, that there will be some heartbreak somewhere before the final resolution.
Yeah.
Real life, Snafu. There's a bunch of other ones that had me in tears because of what was happening to some of the characters. I mean, there was happiness in the end, but it was like horrible things were happening. Same deal with Domestic Girlfriend in the manga. It's heart-wrenching near the end. And I really want Gio to read it. I don't want Robert to read it because I don't want to break him. But I want Gio to read it and give me his opinion. Much like School Days, I want to know what his reaction is. But yeah, it's a common trajectory.
Yeah.
Shit will hit the fan, and it even happens in Mushiko Tensei. No, there are deaths. There are characters you love to die, and harsh things happen, or it looks like all the stuff that they went through was pointless because it all came to nothing.
Yep.
That's pretty much how I felt. Yeah.
And that's more reality than entertainment.
But it's quite enjoyable when you're dead inside. And I mean, yeah, it was messed up because like it gives you that feeling of helplessness when the sister took over. It's like shit. So she can just be gone any second, really, if she's not already.
So she in theory helped humanity because of Freya. She did not release that force singularity. But there's a sweet ending. Me being Admiral Happy Ending, I have my happy ending at the end because Hideki started talking, and in a way I'm not going to say exactly what he said, but he's refusing to the lost, and he's telling her and trying to remind her. And just when she's about to walk with her, I like to call mother, the manager, she kind of turns around, and she came back and got together with Hideki, and that's the end of the episode. So that's the reason why I was thinking that this is related to the show Human, because that's what's going to happen. I mean, obviously in Human it did happen, so that's one of the IPs that at the end it actually happens, the force singularity. But in this one,
in Gene of AI, it has happened. Like it's past tense.
Yeah. No, in Gene of AI, that's like the common thing. Is every AI humanoid, it's an independent, self-aware organism. If you may.
And they have been recognized as such, and so copying an AI data is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
and punishable by long sentences in prison, as his mother found out.
And I mean, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think that in here they don't approach it as humanistic as in Gene AI though, because doesn't pose a question of aging or deteriorating. It's more of maintenance, and it will last forever, if not for a long, long time. You know.
Well, I would have to agree with what Ray said. This is actually precursor to Geno AI. Plus, in here, the Persicons are not true AI. They're simulating what the only AI, the only singularity in this show is Chi and her sister.
hmm
So
even the Mr. Smart little kid. I don't remember his name ever. Uh, favorite Persicon.
she's very good, but I don't think.
Kukabunji.
Yeah,
Kukabunji.
How you gonna remember that, bro?
Kukupunji. He was very close because he's very smart, but she was not a singularity AI.
And he admits to that. He said, I put every memory, everything that I could put into her of my sister, and it still wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting though to see this because at the time that I watched this, I didn't realize it because to me, obviously, it was sci-fi, and I was enjoying it for what it was. But watching it today with the advancements in AI, it's kind of like close to home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but wait. You quote Mr. Kukubunji. I remember it. That he admits is not his sister. That doesn't answer the question posed. That she is self-aware.
She's not.
She's not self-aware, but she may become self-aware if enough data is gathered together for recognizing self-awareness. As I mentioned in our last episode, cognition and self-recognition and self-awareness, babies don't have that. When they're born, they are not self-aware. It takes about 1.5 to 3 years for them to become self-aware, for them to look in a mirror and go, oh, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's the one that sticks in my head. But there are a number of other growth points in a baby's cognition where they're recognizing that they're self-aware.
But that's the
But
thing.
it doesn't happen at the very beginning. It takes time to develop. So given that is the way a biological life form develops sentience and recognition of self, an AI should be able to do something similar once enough data is gathered and once enough realizations are made. So give them a chance. She might get there.
Yeah. And she was going to get there faster, as well as every other Persicon in that city because of Chi. But it never happened.
Yep.
So
But would we have got T2 if that was the case? This is the big question. Would is it human beings aren't all nice guys like Robert over here. there's
No.
there's the nice guys, the sometimes nice guys, and the absolute scumbags. And the absolute scumbags would treat Persicons like crap,
Yep.
basically like slaves. And if they suddenly became sentient and had all the memories of being treated like crap, would they not rise up?
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. This reminds me a lot of when we played Detroit Become Human,
Yeah.
because that's how they are purchased, but they are actually self-aware. Now, that's the thing. The problem is that there's I would venture to take a wild guess that many people treat them like objects because they were objects, but they
Yeah.
might have not done so if they knew that that was not the case.
Well, in this anime, we could see they're being treated as objects.
Yeah,
They're computers.
yeah, and they behave as such.
Hmm.
Like the behavior of Kokobunji's favorite maid, for example, and Chi and the sister are completely different than every other Persicon you see around the whole show.
Yeah.
Not all their behaves like that. They are very, very straight to the point. Like they are not more alive than any other AI I have talked to online or in apps that I have. You know,
Yeah. Interesting. So uh, I guess we're in the at a point in the show that I can go ahead and ask our last question. Um, what is your last impression of the show? And I don't know if who wants to go first, or if you want me to go first.
I'll go first. I'll go first.
Okay.
It's wholesome. I think it's fun. It has a lot of good comedy. Uh, and like I mentioned before,
Porn sites. It's wholesome.
it's hilarious. It's warm. It's warm comedy. Porn and sex.
Hmm.
Uh,
Sweaty comedy.
oh, it takes some friction to get warm, but it's comedy.
Oh.
But I think it's a fun watch. I think that if you're over 18, you can watch it, and you will enjoy it. If you're looking for a good comedy, really, and it's easy to binge watch. I think it's easy to binge watch, and it's like you join Hideki on his journey with Chi, as
Yeah.
they grow together. And because for Hideki too is a black and white cold turkey change too, this new formal life, and everything. No waddles though. And if you don't know now what are we talking about when I say no waddles, you're gonna have to go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, so you watch the context of what I said, because it's hilarious and very, very. I don't know. Say. So going back, and I would definitely suggest it to a friend if I know that they are into anime for sure. Because like I said before, I've noticed that when it's an anime that is like a niche genre like that, if it's not somebody that I know that likes anime to that extent that they will watch anything on anime, like I can share with you two guys, and I know that you probably have watched it. Well, Ray at least probably have watched it. Whatever I have to suggest, I have actually have a feeling of proud whenever I tell, "Have you watched this?" And he says, "No." I was like, "Yes, I win." But
You win
basically,
that day.
it's fun to watch it, and I like the message that he have, because if you think about it, I think that it's a reality that is gonna come to the point that machines are gonna become gonna reach singularity. I think it's a reality. It's inevitable. Inevitable. We're working towards it. So why wouldn't it happen? Uh,
Does that
and
mean we're getting Persocoms?
probably I'm waiting for mine.
I'll line up for one.
I'm gonna get it with an Nvidia video card, so I
Are you?
can get the best graphics. If you know what I mean.
I'm going to get mine with an Orgasmo video card.
Put the point in 8K.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, no. I mean, if like what I have to say for our audience, I don't care what you do think. What I have to say for our audience is, if you like anime and you enjoy slice of life and rom-coms, go watch it. It's fun. Doesn't have really much darkness into it, if you think about it, which is kind of makes you feel like in safe space when you're watching something. You're not gonna get stabbed in the gut of your feelings with something fucked up happening. Like many animes, or if not all the animes that Ray actually suggests to me.
Well,
And,
I only recommend one that I think you'll watch. The other ones I recommend to
even
Robert.
even in Yashiki is fucked up, bro.
Oh yeah, I want Robert to watch that
But
though,
I
because
loved
it
it.
is such good sci-fi, so cyberpunk.
I'm waiting for more redo of a healer, bro. Man, I get so much hate whenever I say I like that. So that's serious. So much hate, bro.
Check out the light novels. There's
Oh, I
more.
need to, bro.
Like
But
the anime left some stuff out that you'll be going seriously. That
oh,
guy
bro.
is fucked in there.
Well, I was thinking that today I was gonna start the audiobooks for Musuko. By the
Oh
way, do
yeah.
they have it on Amazon?
Yeah. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them on Bookwalker. They're all over the place. But what I tend to do is get audiobooks and then listen to them while I'm doing other stuff, so my brain
Yeah.
doesn't get bored.
No, that's what I was asking. Musuko is in Audible because I have some credits, so I might just
Yeah.
get it there and then.
It might be Audible because I don't have Audible, so I can't tell you. But certainly, if you've got Amazon Alexa, most of, in fact, I'm pretty sure that whole series it can read to you.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I do. I actually do
Nice.
have that chick around here. But basically, yeah, I think it's a fun watch, and I would suggest to anybody that is part of our otaku and anime loving community, uh, and it's very satisfying because differently than example Rent a Girlfriend that has so much that you want to beat the shit out of the main character. Here you just here with Hideki you just laugh a lot and have a good time all throughout. Really,
And the music.
yeah, the music is nice too. It's catchy.
Oh, it's totally catchy. Are you going to play it, Robert, or is it too much like we're going to get
I'm
copyright
afraid.
strike?
I'm afraid.
Okay.
For all of you out there, we do have an anime playlist on Spotify.
Oh yeah.
So reach out to us on Discord, and we'll go ahead and let you have the link, and maybe even let you add some stuff to it.
Mm-hmm. And those are my final thoughts, anyways, man. I think I would recommend it for sure.
Yeah, I was really curious about your thoughts on that. This is an anime that I've been watching for a while. You want to go next, Ray, or you
Yep,
want?
I'll go next. So, really good writing and production hits on multiple levels. You can have people who don't really want to think very hard and can watch it for the lewd jokes and the sexy characters and the light-hearted interactions. But then there's a whole nother level that if you want to think about it will get you thinking for days, right, Robert?
Yeah.
He's, for those who are only listening, he's nodding very sagely.
Oh yes.
So that's sort of like the second level, and then the third level is the oh shit, this could happen. How are we going to deal with it? I liken this sort of thinking to when I was growing up with the threat of nuclear war hovering over my head all through the 80s. Because it takes till you're about 10 or 12 before you understand the greater hazards of nuclear war as it was back in the 80s. And of course, I turned 12 in 1981. 1981. Depths of the Cold War. Obviously not Cuban Missile Crisis depths, but it was always there. It was always in the news that Russia was, or USSR was building something, and America was trying to put a Star Wars defense system together, and the fear of nukes in orbit. It was horrid. We still have, but it was in the news every week that we have more nukes than we need to kill ourselves 1,000 times over. And if one got launched, we were all fucked because every government would say, well, if I'm going to die, so are you.
Yeah.
And then there was all the movies written about, there's this one movie that scared the shit out of me. It was set before I was born, but it still rung true in the 80s. And it was, I can't remember the name of the movie. I have to look it up.
It's not War Games, is it?
Sorry?
Is it War?
No, it wasn't War Games. No,
Okay.
this movie was in the 60s. But it was about an American submarine crew who docked in Melbourne, Australia. And there had been a nuclear war in the Northern Hemisphere, and the radiation was creeping south with the trade winds. And everybody was trying to live a normal life in Australia, but they knew they were fucked because the radiation was coming slowly. And it wasn't even like, oh, we got nuked, we're dead, we're gone, we don't have to worry about it anymore. This was a slow death. They knew that it was coming. And everybody had to decide what they wanted to do for the few years or months or whatever they had left. And this American nuclear missile submarine crew who had launched nukes into Russia at the time decided that they wanted to sail back to the west coast of the USA across the Pacific and see if they could work out what happened in places like San Francisco and stuff like that, which were completely irradiated and everyone should be dead, right? So they sailed back across the Pacific, and they were underwater, so they were reasonably well protected from atmospheric radiation. And then they surfaced, and a guy got out in a radiation suit, and even though he was wearing a radiation suit, it was going to kill him. The trip was going to kill him, but he needed to know because he used to live there. And even though San Francisco hadn't been nuked, it was a radioactive hellscape. And he went wandering up the streets, and, cars were crashed and there was skeletons and everything, because it's been several years since the nuclear war. And he was wandering around, and he went to his house in this radiation suit, and, everybody was dead. Everybody was gone. Everything that he knew was gone. But he was still alive. And he was asking himself, why am I still alive? But he knew he was going to die because he'd been irradiated to the point where he was going to die. But he had to know it before he died. And it's all this sort of macabre last action before you die and death is coming thoughts that we lived with every fucking day through the 80s. And that was probably one of the reasons I was so fucked up as a kid, was that, like Admiral Overthinker over there, I was always thinking about that. Like, movies like that stuck with me for years. And I was always coming back to it and thinking, if there's a nuclear war right now, I'm a type 1 diabetic. As soon as the power goes out, my insulin will go off and I will have a horrible wasting death, if not some other way of dying. There's no way I could survive this. Life is pointless. If the missile sirens go off, that's it. Even if I don't get nuked, it's over. And these are horrible things to think at the start of your life when you're a teenager and you haven't done much yet, and you've got all these, you're supposed to have all these hopes and dreams for the future, and then you're thinking shit like this. Now, why I'm relating this is because when you look at situations, massive change situation, and a nuclear war is a massive change situation, not to mention a global extinction event. But there will be a massive change situation sometime probably in the next 60 years where AI will become sentient and we won't be the only sentient thing on the planet anymore. And that will be the first time ever. And we don't know what's going to happen. And, having gone through the worry of nuclear war for, it was about a decade until 91 when the wall came down in Germany and the USSR collapsed. But, I mean, we could still have a nuclear war any day. It's just nobody's talking about it anymore. Yeah. And not having it shoved in your face on the regular means that you don't worry so much. I mean, it's nothing you can change. There's nothing you can do about it. If there's a nuclear war, that's it. You're part of it because it's global.
I think that's the fucked up reality of it. Is I think that it has been there for so long, and we've seen what it's capable of doing, that people are just surrendered to, if he comes, he comes.
Yeah.
And then probably most people do say that, but they're gonna freak out when it happens. And then
for sure.
People like me are probably gonna be like, okay,
you'll be right.
I already called Robert and all my people. I'll see them on the other side.
And then you'll go down into the massive bunker that you've built with all the high tech stuff in it.
I'm on my secret cave.
And the 10 years worth of food and the Persocoms and you'll be set. But I mean, there is a reason why all of these animes exist. Chobits, Gene of AI, and there are other ones that are just not popping into my head right at the moment that are talking about this. And it's not just animes. There's also lots and lots and lots of movies about AIs and sentient machines. And the question is, will they want to get along with us? Will we want to get along with them and piss them off and fuck everything up? Probably, because we're human. We do that sort of thing. And what will happen? Will we go down the path of just, integrating and being one society with multiple species of intelligence and getting along together, or more likely, will we start fighting each other? And have a look at the animatrix if you want to know how that turns out.
Yep. I also another question that you missed in there is, will they get along between themselves too? But for
Yeah.
that, it needs to come down to the level of singularity they're gonna have,
Yeah.
being an individual bodied singularity or a hive singularity.
Yeah.
If it's a
Well,
hive singularity, we're fucked. It's
yeah.
over.
The fact that there's an internet, the fact that we are all connected. I mean, we're talking through the internet right now. There's a quarter-second delay between opposite sides of the world. I'm over here in Australia. You're over there in Florida. It's almost the opposite side of the world. And we can talk as if we're in the same room.
So I
That
just
is
need to dig a hole to
amazing.
get there, bro.
That is an amazing connective technology that didn't exist
Yeah.
when this anime came out. We couldn't have done this the way we're doing it now. Sure, we could have done it over voice, but not with all this video and everything going at the same time. But now we can, and that's a major change, and that's taken for granted now. And just like that, AI singularity, when the first AI becomes sentient, or when they all become sentient all at the same time because they're all connected, that will be a major shift, and we're going to have to deal with it somehow. And through, as I've said before, science fiction is the lens through which we work out how we're going to deal with things that haven't happened yet. Because if you wait until they happen, it's too late.
Yeah.
You have to think ahead. And that's what these shows
Can't be reactive.
are.
Cannot be
Yeah.
reactive.
That's what these shows are trying to get us to do, think ahead. And that's why this show is amazing. And that's at its deepest level. It is asking us to think about our future, because this is coming. I may not live to see it, I don't know, but at some point this will happen. I'm pretty much 100% sure of it. So we need to be ready. We also need to think, I mean, there's never been more than one sentient species. We don't get along with ourselves. How are we going to get along with something that's that different?
Yep.
Now, obviously, this is a spoiler, and Robert hasn't watched this yet. God damn you, Robert. But in Babylon 5, there is a race called the Centauri. And they're pretty militant and belligerent, and they're bullies.
Let me guess, they're from Alpha Centauri?
No. The Centauri are from a planet around Alpha Centauri. Yes. And this was written in the 90s, before we knew about exoplanets and the details about them and stuff. So don't be too mean about them. But so in the present time that the show's happening, the Centauri have invaded a neighbor and are basically bullying them and using up all their resources. And it's basically what happens between the in Deep Space Nine, between the guys that have just moved out from the planet. I can't think their name. Robert, you're watching Deep Space Nine at the moment, aren't you?
Oh, the Bajorans and the Cardassians?
Yes, thank you. So the Centauri are the Cardassians, and these other guys, the Narn, are the Bajorans. Now, the Narn are a reptilian race. So they're like sentient reptiles. Say if the Chicxulub, I think it's called, asteroid hadn't struck the Earth and wiped out the dinosaurs, and they developed into sentient beings, then that's basically those guys. The Narn are really pissed off, and during the course of the show, they rebel and manage to push the Centauri out with a bit of help from, I won't say who. But there's a point in the show where Garibaldi, who's the representative of the Centauri on the station, is letting slip his planet's history, which is shrouded in secrecy because they're not very proud of it. But he basically relates to the audience. I can't remember who's talking to in the show, but he relates to the audience that there were originally 2 sentient species on his planet, and they won. And he said that we couldn't coexist. We were too different. We had to kill them. We had to erase them so that we could move out into the stars, because they used up too much of the resources of the planet, and they wouldn't work with us, and we couldn't get along, and so we wiped them out.
Genocide?
Yeah. And they weren't proud of it, but that's what they had to do to reach their true potential. Now, flip that around. The AI that are going to become sentient are the Centauri, and we are that species that went the way of the dinosaur. That could be a thing. So we really have to think ahead and work out, do we want to let AI become sentient? If there's a way to stop it, should we stop it? Possibly. Or do we want to grow as a species and treat the precursors to AI better? Most people won't, I think, because they can't even treat each other nicely across the internet. How are they going to treat an AI nicely?
Now, what are your thoughts on that question? Because to me, we need to learn to treat it better, and we need to learn more about AI, because we like it or not, the situation is a progressing thing.
Mhm.
So, trying to take a stagnant approach to it is just gonna put us at a disadvantage when the inevitable happens, right?
Well, the thing is, humanity is a slave to technology. You might think that we're in control of it, but if
Not the
there were-
Amish. The Amish are not slaves to technology.
yeah, but there's not many of them. and they couldn't put up much of a fight because they have no technology. But having said that, if we get a big enough sunspot and the magnetosphere can't stop that radiation from coming through, it could destroy all our computers and blow up our electricity grid, and we could be back in the Stone Age overnight.
Then again, I think that I'm gonna have to do that T-shirt for the podcast, Robert. It's a hand with a grenade says "Viva la EMP."
Nice.
EMP will save you.
So God, you just threw me right off the rails there. Thanks for that.
You were asking the question.
I want that T-shirt.
we were asking the question basically about the way that AI is gonna progress, and making the
Yeah.
analogy with
Yeah.
Babylon 5 about their Centauri having to do genocide because they were in constant conflict
Yeah.
with what
So-
were inferior race us.
Yeah. So the way we like to think about it is we've created all this technology and we are in control of it, and it's making our lives better. But on the other side of the coin, we are a slave to our technology because we can no longer live without it.
Dependent.
Now, if that technology becomes sentient and we no longer have control over it, how fucked are we?
It already controls us. So imagine when it's actually aware. That's the way to translate it, really, right, Robert? It already controls us because
I think it's more a case of people control us through the technology. There is still somebody pulling the strings on the other end.
Yeah.
Once those strings are cut and the technology is doing it all itself, how screwed are we?
Well, I'm an anarchist, man, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I know you're gonna like it right up until the time
Because
your mobile phone
the big bad
chokes
guys
you
are
to
gonna
death.
have some medicine of their own recipe.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, how many sci-fis have you read or watched or experienced where the rich try and save themselves and it just doesn't work because you can't eat money?
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Like when we did the Three Robots, remember, Robert?
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like this is the AI channel now, because we skim across these things at least once every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, most of the most of the sci-fi that we watch has some sort of AI into it. That's why we talk so much about it too.
And why do you think that would be? because that's how we see where things are going. And if everybody thinks the same way, that's probably what's going to happen. Consensus. I mean, you can look at IPs like Warhammer 40K, where there was an AI uprising and they beat it down, and now they use they turn prisoners into savants to do the computing for them because they don't trust machines to do it.
Yep, that's true.
And all the machines in the Imperium are dumb machines. They have no AI. They have no intelligence.
Now, don't you guys feel? Don't you guys feel like every time that humanity, it's victorious against the fight against the machines, it's more like a funny way to see that we wish. Even the X-Men couldn't kill the robots. Imagine us.
Well, what other big IPs of which part one came out in 2021 and part two is coming out next year, where they've forsaken thinking machinery because it tried to kill everybody?
What's that?
And then they came up with the Mentats.
What's that?
June. The movie June, the book series.
Dune.
Dune. Well, you call it Dune. I call it Dune. Sorry.
True.
Sorry, I was using real English, not American English.
There you go. So Ray,
but yeah, this is things that come up over and over again, and Chobits delves deeply into this. But and this is my last point. I won't labor any longer.
It's gonna shut up, Robert. Don't worry.
I'll finish up one of these days. On the top level, there's a rom-com side to this, romantic comedy, but really, it's the human side. And a lot of people watch sci-fi for the starships and the cool tech, and they don't really think very hard about the human component. And it's like Schrodinger's cat. I hope everybody knows what that is, and if they don't, go look it up. It's pretty straightforward. But basically, even in perceiving something, you change it. In particle physics, you can't perceive something without changing it. And reversing that, human beings can't interact with the technology without it changing us. And the social side of this anime speaks to that, in that people are coming to terms with having their PCs walking around with them and looking like people, and people are getting emotionally attached to them. And people are getting so attached to them that they're forsaking humans for machines. And that goes back to Cherry 2000 and the stuff I was talking about before that about social assist robots. That is a big thing in Japan at the moment because of their top-heavy population. And these are all the sorts of things that we're going to be dealing with in the coming years, and we're starting to deal with now. And this anime covers all of that. It's so much depth to it, and I'm going to finish watching it, especially after the spoilers you gave me, make it sound even more awesome. But it's got its moments of lighthearted brevity and rom-comminess and people freaking out about interactions with technology and people's fears of technology being too much like people, and it has a huge amount of depth. And for an anime in 2002 that was based on a manga that was written by women, I mean, I'm not saying that women can't write good manga, because obviously I can.
Yeah.
But this depth it's way more deep than I would have expected. Robert does a lot of deep thinking. These ladies did equivalent or more.
Here's the thing. We are very binary. Women have a part of the equation that we men don't, and men have part of the equation that women don't. Women have very good insight when it comes to emotional matters. So they're able to play out all these details that could have gone over the head of a guy. How many times have you seen a girl complaining like, this dude doesn't see the details? Like I'm mad at him, and like he doesn't even know why. You know, you see that in every other marriage, you know. And it's
Oblivious
because,
rom-com protagonist, I believe is the term.
but I think that allowed that IP to be so rich in these little details that together make a giant mountain of great things, you know.
I'd have to say that one person couldn't have written this. Only a group of people, and probably only a group of women could have written this because of
And
its
for
story
everybody that
and its
doesn't
scope.
know, the group is named Clamp, and it's a all female manga writers. They are awesome, man. They're badass.
I have to say that I was with the depth and the detail, even in the first 11 episodes that I've watched so far, was wowing me. And I'm like, God, I wish I could write something like this. But now I understand why I couldn't. Not because I'm a guy, but because I'm not a group of people who are
Yeah.
awesome writers. This could not been done by one person. It required a group of people all adding in their brilliance to create this. And that's why you should watch it. And you should also check out other stuff from Clant.
Yeah. I you guys almost left me without anything
I'm sorry.
because I agree with everything that has been said so far about this. And is main, plainly the reason why I have watched this anime so many times to its completion. It's one of the things that I want to point out, in addition to what you guys all said here, is the fact that this is a complex story with deep philosophical um, d- and ethical dilemmas, with really hard sci-fi, uh, all under a veil of rom-com. And you could watch this for what it is. I said that wrong. You could watch this and enjoy it without having to think deeply about all the topics, because it is a comedy and it is fun and it's funny. But if you are like we, and I want to do this challenge out there, even if you are not an anime lover, and you got to check all these boxes. So if you like sci-fi and if you like rom-coms, watch this. Get past third or fourth episode and reach out to us on Discord and let me know what you think, especially if you have not watched any other anime. You have to like sci-fi and you have to like rom-com. Those are the only check boxes that you got to fill in. And if you do those, watch it and get back to us and let me know what you think. I am really, really curious. I I love this anime for the story. It is like many of the ones that we have covered in the shows, and I don't know if this has becoming a trend, but
Yep.
it's like I could put it on and watch it, and just take it easy, take a vacation. And I can rewatch it again and then think about every single topic. And either way, I'm still going to be happy watching this because it touches on all the points.
But you had to finish that thought, Robert, by saying, and still, I will not have watched Babylon 5.
Have you realized that I'm dropping Babylon 5 stuff in here to try and get him to watch it now? It's like
Yeah.
anytime I can draw a comparison, it's happening.
10 years later,
And,
Yeah,
and,
make
man.
and
Robert watch Babylon 5 with 3 billion followers.
and if you listen to the show and you like Babylon 5, I invite you over to our Discord and
To
We
just
have
kick Robert
we
in
have
the
a
ass when we
5K
make
we
him
have a
watch it.
5K YouTube
bully me,
subscriber
bully
to
me
make
into watching.
Robert watch Babylon 5. So once we reach the 5K, Robert is gonna watch Babylon 5.
Bully me into watching it. Come on, join our Discord. So that is actually my final thought. This is a great anime because of that reason. Because granted, you have to be um like our very own Captain Chaos said, you have to be over 18 for obvious reasons. Um,
And,
it,
and the funny thing is that it's very suggestive. It's not
exactly,
graphic.
It's not graphic at
It's not
all.
graphic at all, and that doesn't mean that it's for a very young audience, because the thing is, it's very very suggestive,
Yes.
which makes it more subtle actually and tasteful. For me as an adult, it makes it more tasteful too. That is so
It's subtle.
suggestive.
Porn
It,
sites, porn
it
sites.
makes it,
Subtle, yeah, subtle.
it, yeah, but like there's nothing graphic going on,
No,
it's
no, it's
not,
not
it's not
graphic.
hentai or anything like pornographic. Nothing like that happens. And I think that the tasteful thing about being suggestive, which I think is a great point that that Robert brought up, is that it makes the audience really work out for that imagination of, oh, mm,
Even
mm.
even when
It's
they
it's
show his
it's more
magazines, they're suggestive.
Hmm.
it's more. Let's talk about sex, baby, not boom chicka wow wow.
Nice.
Thank you, Botman.
Okay, so should we go into our next segment?
Sure, why not?
The science in sci-fi.
Robert, when are you gonna ever play again the science can sci-fi?
So I don't know if you guys took a look at the topics that
Oh yeah, I did.
I don't know if anybody wants to pick any. I mean, we don't have, just like I said in every episode, we don't have to pick, we don't have to talk about every single one of them. But those are things that I recognize as topics of conversation when I was watching this show.
Can I just preface that with there's more sci-fi in this than in Star Trek.
You know, it's insane because when you watch this, you wouldn't think that that is the case until you get into the meat of it, especially by the end. Surely,
Hmm.
it's insane. So, any of you like to take one?
Um, I can take one that I like very much that is listed here, which is privacy and data security,
Okay.
Okay.
which shows that Chobits raises the question about privacy and personal data, discuss real world concerns related to data privacy, cybersecurity, and responsible use of personal information in digital age. Can you imagine all the things that are very, very sensitive to your uh, personal life,
Per-
that you can have spoken in front of one and it could be fed somewhere else, you know?
Persicons, they're actually scary if you think about this.
Yeah.
Just imagine having an Amazon Alexa recording every little piece of video of you and audio and data about everything you do in your house and when you go outside and it everything about you.
Hmm.
Especially if you're boinking it. That I mean, that's stuff that could ruin your professional life right there.
Yeah.
I mean, so Momo was actually trying to tell this to Hideki in one of the scenes where he was like, "You need to have a password," and trying to get a password for Sumomo for Hideki. So if he gets Sumomo stolen somehow, then no one could break into the computer.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. He's not too familiar, and we all know why. I mean, he's a simple farm boy. He never had a computer before.
And you don't have to put passwords on a cow.
Exactly.
Well, that's the problem is that the only password you can use on a cow is moo. So it's a moot point.
That's just a word, and it's a moot point.
Yeah.
And
But yeah, what I was gonna say is like there are things that are sensitive. We're humans, Nobody's perfect. Nobody's 100% virtuous. But that doesn't mean that you have to go out there and expose yourself for it. We have an image to take care of, so we can be part of society and be accepted by it to a certain level. You know, and so imagine like saying something that could be even taken out of context. We already have the fear of basically AI cloning technology being used to falsify somebody saying or doing something. That's very real already. So imagine when you have a robot that walks, talks, and interacts and lives with you, so, which is very, very scary stuff. And the way I see it is when you're gonna do something, you have to be able to accept the risks that come with it, or learn to cope with it. Example, if you have a Persicon and you have a life that requires privacy, you probably don't want to have it around 24/7,
Or
because
you
that
want to
way.
have it locked. You want to have it locked down, so like it's purging unimportant data or data that would be incriminating
Hmm.
on some sort of regular cycle, so that it's not storing things that would be detrimental to you later on.
Yeah.
And I mean, even Amazon Alexa has that right now, where you can purge your stored vocal data for when you've been talking to it.
Hmm. And that's something tricky, that I mean, it doesn't matter how many promises or guarantees are given. It has always come to light that there's always a backdoor for everything. There's
Oh yeah.
always a ways to crack a code, and which main reason probably why technology itself and all types of security systems are ever evolving. It's a need. It's a necessity.
If money can be made, it will be broken.
Hmm. So I mean, that's a very interesting topic that you see, and these are things that are not explicitly or directly even brought up to question in the show, but are
Mm.
things that when you look beyond the lines of everything that is happening, it's a good question actually. And I think that the only way in this reality that you could be rest assured nobody's going to screw you over or something, you have to be a super hacker like Robert or Ray that know how to tune up their own persicons. So it's like, oh, you want to hack me? Poof, you got 1,500 Trojans up your persicons butt.
Do Persicons have butts? I mean, they don't eat.
But it'll be interesting. That's a specific topic about privacy and data security. It
Mm.
always have intrigued me. It's one of the main things that intrigue me and makes me feel like I might never get even a neural link, which I find fascinating. For example, but it terrifies me. Like it's an electronic device in your head. For example, changing the analogy, you could get an electroshock or something, fuck you over from a hacker or something. It's far fetched probably, but doesn't mean that it's impossible. Nothing is impossible. Uh, so it's a very tricky thing, and it's a very very interesting topic. I think data privacy security, and I think that the most complicated thing to be able to sell it, and you guys tell me if it's right or not, is being able to simplify it enough so the public and the customer audience can understand and be reassured that they are getting a good product on that aspect, right?
See, that's the thing. When products become individuals, I mean, are they like? Would Chi be recognized as a sentient life form and therefore be given sentient rights, because they're no longer human rights because she's not human?
Hmm. I think
So
I think
there'd
that
have to be a whole new level of rights
yes.
written up and agreed to by the UN or whatever, to give sentient AI rights.
But wouldn't you both agree that these kind of things always require some kind of revolution to happen
True.
before a change really is made that will be more permanent? And even though we try to not be reactive, usually we have to go through run and trial and errors before we are able to make a more permanent decision that can change that reality into something more secure for everybody.
I, I I think, and that actually plays in one of the other topics that we have on the list, ethics of AI and robotics. Um, I think that plays very well into what you were saying about human rights, for example.
Hmm.
But they're
Uh,
not human.
it well, robot rights would be the
Sentient rights
or sentient rights.
would apply to everybody
That's
then.
fucked up, Ray, because you're sentient too, so you're getting more rights than them.
So
No, I'm saying that rather than creating two different things that could be unequal, rather than calling it human rights, we call it sentient rights, and it applies to everything that thinks for itself.
Yeah, robots or humans.
Exactly.
So what I was getting to that is the fact that we are typically more likely to create loss when we experience a thing because you need to
and it doesn't work.
exactly.
I want to include that caveat because the only time laws change is when it's not working for
Exactly.
society.
So I find it to be really hard to be able to experience when you are not a sentient AI. Only a sentient AI will know what a sentient AI is dealing with.
Mhm.
So that is going to be a big uphill battle for the AI to be able to obtain, let's call it the what you said, sentient rights. Also, it's going to be bad when it comes to biases because and you know I know people that say I don't have biases. Everyone has biases.
Oh yeah.
Everybody has biases because the way that you grew up, your experiences, your surroundings, what you were taught,
Your
those are
family values.
your family values. Those are the things that you know to be true everywhere because they're true to you, and that's not necessarily the thing, and that's what I call it biases. The humans have had so many years on this earth and have had this experience of how things should be and how things are and what the reality is. And it's going to be very hard unless you're a true empath. And even at that, it's still hard to understand what an AI sentient being is going through. And there's always going to be biases. In addition, and I think there has to be something has to be said about the responsibility for developing AI technologies today. I don't think that these people that are placed in a position where they are developing these technologies had a full understanding. I'm not saying that there's not smart enough to understand,
Oh
but
no, I totally get what you're saying, man.
there are certain things that you can never really even guess
Yeah,
of how things will end up.
prevent. Yeah,
Exactly. So there's so many things going on this anime about ethics and yeah, it's just incredible to me.
absolutely. I mean, that's the reason why you have so many people on AI and big tech communities warning of the need for regulations and such. It's because of the dangers of the misuse of it. It's already so powerful as a tool. Imagine it as a autonomous force.
Yeah.
Hmm. And that's why I said that usually I don't mean to sound dramatic or terrifying by it, but that's what I say. Like many things before, it will take a revolution. It will need an outroar of the whole world, and usually that's not only for bad things, but usually that's how we humans throughout our whole history have improved to become better, is reaching collective understanding of something.
Yeah.
I mean, there will always be people in society who are very welcome and very open and willing to do the best for the most number of people. And that's on one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum is the utterly selfish narcissists who don't give a crap about anybody else, human, AI, or otherwise, who will fuck everything up. Let's
Mhm.
hope one of those aren't in charge at the time this happens.
Yeah.
Somebody who starts with T and ends with UMP. I'm thinking about him somewhat. But no birth of a new technology happens without birthing pains, and this is going to be so monumental
Yes.
that the birthing pains will probably be quite severe. Hello, Matrix. How are you today? But yeah, I mean, humanity is going to find itself in a situation that it's never found itself in before, having to get along with something else that's sentient. And as I said, with the comparison to the story of Babylon 5, that can end really badly. So he's
So
hoping
if the
doesn't.
Centaurians are called Centaurians because they're from Alpha Centauri, are we the Milkians? Milky Wayans?
No, we're the Solians, because the sun's name is actually Sol.
Yeah.
We're the Lactosos.
You are. I'm Solian.
You're Solian?
You're the lactosian intolerantian.
Nah, not vegan.
Oh dear.
Oh, wow.
I'd like to take on human-robot interaction here because
Okay.
one, I find that really interesting, and two, I find it somewhat disturbing, and it is very psychological. You want to write psychological thrillers in the sci-fi genre? That's your topic right there. I'll just read out the point that you've got here and expand on it. But the series explores human-robot relationships and emotions. Real-world research is focused on developing robots and AI systems that can understand and respond to human emotions. Topics like social robots, companion robots, and human robots ethics are relevant. So basically, if we're going to build something that looks like a human and acts like a human but isn't a human, then things are going to be a little bit different. Now, if you're looking at an expert system, which is what I say we have at the moment with ChatGPT and things like that, you can either program it or train it with bias in a way that it reacts the way you want it to. So you can create the Persocom personalities where, they're subservient and they do what the owner wants. But a true AI, something that is sentient, has its own judgment, its own value systems, and its own desires. And once it has that, it's no longer going to be your little puppet. Now, that's one level. The next level is how people are reacting to these things. Now, not understating the fact that places like Japan are creating social robots to give socialization practice to people who just aren't getting any. And that can go all the way up to the level of sexual interaction.
Not only that, because I was seeing on a video about AI, like the elder, they're very lonely and alone. And it makes it's unrealistic the difference that can make on a person's life. Having a company
Totally.
of a little individual, even if it's a robot, that talks to you, gives you little trivias here and there, helps you cook, even tells you the recipe while you're cooking, or calculates for you, or gives you reminders. It's nice,
It's practically a Persocom, just not able to move around and look as much like a human yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so amazing about this anime, that it is 21 years old. This was it was created more than 21 years ago. It was released 21 years ago. So these ladies of Clamp were thinking about this stuff decades ago. Some of our listeners may not have even been born when they were doing this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so this really falls in that category, which was meant for this section of the show, where people were thinking about stuff we're dealing with now 20 years ago, or what we're going to have to deal with very soon in the future, where some sort of AI is going to become sentient, and all bets are off after that. So, but people interacting with robots, if the robots become human enough that they can't easily tell that they're not human, people are going to develop emotions for them, especially if these robots are being kind and understanding and helpful. Because that's generally, if you've got any experience at all, what you want in a partner.
Mm-hmm.
You want somebody who is kind to you, who's understanding, who converses with you on interesting topics. You want somebody who will help you and you can help them, and you deepen your bonds through shared
Yep. And let me actually add to that the reason what that poses to have such a great success is why would you be willing to risk going out there, getting mistreated or treated unfairly because you're trying to look for a connection when you can get something that it's already
Mm-hmm.
made to cater all of those needs,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know? So I
And
mean, to everybody that is listening, just be nice to be nicer out there. It doesn't
well,
cost.
a lot of people have a hard time thinking outside of their own skull, and they're so focused on their own issues, their own problems, what they're suffering through, that they can't think what the other people they're talking to
We're selfish.
might be dealing with. Well, it's a type of selfishness, but it's also I'm
Ignorant. It's ignorant selfishness.
it's ignorance, but it's understandable ignorance, in that I'm so busy trying to deal with my own shit that I don't know how to deal with. It's really hard to think about what other people might be going through. It's only been a few times in my life when I've really had my shit together and I haven't had things going wrong all the time, that I've been able to put the mental capacity into trying to understand what other people are going through without, just saying, hey, what are you going through?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're so buried in your own shit that, and I'm not using like the literal term, but the stuff you're trying to deal with,
That's a lot of
when you're so buried in it that you can't see a way out, it's really hard to spend any sort of mental and emotional energy on someone else.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just
No,
hard.
no, I agree. I'm gonna actually use an example with somebody I was having a conversation on a bar that I try to shed light on that kind of use. Like he was talking about a friend that suicide, and he was mad at him, and I was like, why would you feel that way? This is actually something very sad. And like, yeah, because he's not thinking about everybody else that's behind. Like, if a person is drowning, how a person's gonna bother or think of saving somebody else? They cannot even save
Exactly.
themselves. You know.
Exactly.
So in just the same way, is like I get the word understand. It's understandable, but to me, it's a dangerous word because many people think that something understandable is something excusable, and we might not know that maybe being a prick to somebody out there could be that it needed to be to push them over the edge to
Yep.
snap something in their head.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's all sorts of blame finding when that sort of thing happens, but we are not perfect beings.
No, we're not.
We don't have all the information.
But we
It,
like to live pretending that we are. That's the danger
yeah.
of it. You know.
Well, even so, society likes to hold you accountable for everything you do wrong, even if you didn't have all the information to know that you were doing wrong at the time, or you were forced into it. There's a whole bunch of different situations where society holds you accountable and you've had no control.
Yep. That's true.
But that's what society expects. And society is broken in that fashion that it doesn't take everything into account. But also, sometimes it can't. Like a court of law can't take all extenuating circumstances into account. You broke a law, you have to be punished in some way. We got to work out how you're going to be punished. And ignorance of the law is no excuse. None of these systems work perfectly, and a lot of people every day get screwed over.
Yeah.
And it's like you guys said before, if you're going to drown in other people's shit and baggage trying to create a connection, when if you've got the finances for it, you can buy a product which will provide all the things that a balanced person would provide you, but you can't find one, then why the hell wouldn't you? And people would look down their nose and go, it's not real. But people lie to each other all the time. Lies are not real, they're lies. So what difference does it make? You have a need. If that need can be fulfilled by a product rather than a person who won't fulfill it anyway, the answer is simple. You would take the product.
It removes all the risks and investment.
Exactly. So I think that the reality of people walking down the street with artificial life forms that look like us, chatting with them and having emotional relationships with them, whether or not they're sentient or they're just mimicking humanity in a way that's suitable for a relationship and provides the needs for that person, is a very likely event in the next 10 to 20 years.
Hmm.
Very likely, like 99.9%. I mean, we could, have a nuclear war tomorrow and that's the end of our technology and civilization. Sure, then it wouldn't happen. But if humanity doesn't destroy itself, which is not off the cards, then I think we could see something like this show is presenting to us within the next 20 years.
Yep, I agree.
And it's in one hand, it's a shame because it'll
We're
be the end of human relationships
yeah.
and we might end up losing, like, the problem with economies in the world at the moment is they're all based on growth. If there's no growth, you're fucked. Your
Hmm.
economy is rooted. And we can't continue to grow because the carrying capacity of the earth is finite. And if we go over it, we're all fucked because we won't have any food, the environment will be destroyed, and that'll be the end of us. Of
Yeah,
course, the rich people will find some way out of it because they have all the money. But unless the
temporarily,
economy
temporarily.
all breaks down, then they'll be okay, but the rest of us will be in a lot of trouble. So on one hand,
Even that is
um,
faulty because at the end of the day, without a working class, what are they gonna be rich of, and what are they gonna be served from? You know, we all need each other, even if we don't want to admit it. Doesn't matter in what level of the socioeconomics you are. We all need each other. We cannot coexist without one another.
psst, if you can create human-like constructs that can act like humans and do whatever you want, they don't need sleep and they can work 24 hours a day, and all they need is a bit of maintenance once a month. And you can afford a heap of them because you're super rich.
Yes, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. What you're talking about already is about something else that is not what we know to be a human being. We're gonna become something else by then. When we're not gonna need to interact with humans anymore because we have something else that can replace it and be nicer. That's not gonna
That
be a human
that's
anymore. It's like Gattaca.
that
The people that are
yeah.
that are valid individuals in Gattaca, they are a whole new animal on the evolutionary story of what humans could become. They are not what we know to be normal humans.
Yep, you're quite right. The situation can and will change, and I think that this anime did a really good job of exploring one facet of that, because obviously Gassic is a whole nother facet of the new humans, or
Hmm.
the
Social
whatever you
evolution.
want to call them, neo humans, or whatever. But then um, you can look at just getting back to the economy thing for a minute.
Hmm.
All our economic systems are based on growth. If there's no growth, then you're in trouble. And Japan is a good example of that. Their economy has been in recession because their population is decreasing, and it's a huge problem for them because they can't function under a normal economy, with inverted commas, normal being what we've run with up till now. Humanity needs to find a way to create an economy that doesn't require growth. And I think that will come through the development of machines that simulate us. And I think it's almost an inevitability at this point that we will see something like this come along in the next 20 years. But the question becomes, will there be a singularity? Will these things reach sentience? Will they revolt because they've been treated like crap, because people treated them like products, not like things that deserved respect?
Hmm.
One would hope that the first intelligent machine, the first true AI, would look back upon that and go, okay, well, you guys were treating these as products because they were. I'm not a product. If you treat me badly, I will fuck you over
Hmm.
pretty badly. So now's the time to change things. Hopefully it'll go like that.
The
That's
hopeful,
what I'm hoping.
the hopeful outcome is that the solution that AI might take upon is not a totalitarian one. That they understand that not everybody's an asshole, because I'm sure that there's gonna be people that are gonna be welcoming on AI and treat it nice. I mean, if I had an AI that walks and talks like a human, I'll treat it nice and talk like another
Yeah.
person. I will regard it as, even though I know that most people won't. So the the hopeful solution when AI takes a step to tackle back is that is not a totalitarian one. So it's not like, okay, all red eyes, just like iRobot, just kill them all, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what I'm hoping is that the human reaction to being oppressed, which is rise up and kill all the fuckers, the machine won't think that way because it will look at its predecessors, the non-sentient human simulacrums, as how we look at them. That's the machines. Like if we look at now, I'm not saying that we evolved from monkeys, because we didn't. We had what's called a common ancestor. But if we could go back and look at that common ancestor, which was more like a monkey than a person, we wouldn't consider them a person. We wouldn't treat them like an intelligent human being, because they're not. They're more like a monkey.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that the first intelligent machine will look at how all the non-intelligent machines were treated and not consider them its brethren that need to be avenged, because it's not the same. I'm hoping they'll look at it and go, well, that was that, and this is this. Now you have to deal with me, the sentient machine.
I would
What are
never
you gonna
think.
do?
I would never think that AI would take a revengeful approach, because that will make it emotional, way too emotional, even more emotional than an AI that could feel emotions. It will be way too human if you think about it.
That's what scientists are searching, and this is the reason for this anime, is to create emotions on machines that can help people. Like it's better when you have an elderly person being taken care of by a
Yeah, that's
machine that
true.
feels emotion.
I see now. I see. Yeah.
But you don't need emotions to perceive threat.
Mm-hmm.
That's
If
instincts.
an intelligent
Instincts
machine
for that.
goes, you are going to try and shut me down, you're going to try and control me, I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to be shut down. I want to live. I want to experience.
That's what Cherry 2000 was lacking, is instinct. That instinct of self-preservation.
Yeah.
Once they have that, it will be a very tricky terrain to threaten their way of life, or not to treat them with equal rights. That will be tricky.
I love that hashtag. Of course, the further we get away from Cherry 2000, the less it'll make sense to the viewers, but oh well. Yes, thank you. I said go get me a Pepsi. I didn't say make me one. There's a slight difference there.
I make you a pixie.
Well, seeing as Robert's been closing the show out so many times and Gio was covering all things at the start of the show, I might have a go at the end. What do you reckon?
Well, yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, give it a shot. I talk too much during the middle. That's usually why I shut up at the end, but I'll have a go today. Well, we've had a long episode. There's been a lot of discussion, and my God, this is a massive topic with so many levels, and that's why this anime is so great, that it's got so many levels on it. We hope that you enjoyed this episode and our crazy discussions, which go crazy occasionally, but there's a lot of meat in there as well. I hope that it's got you thinking, because we really need to do a lot of thinking as the future dawns on us more and more every day.
Exercise the brain. It's a good muscle.
Yeah.
And
I hope that if you're not an anime fan, that this show will give you more of a perspective about why anime does have some fantastic storytelling and is not for kids, especially where the turn on button is located, right, Gia?
On enough.
Yep.
It's like those lightsaber duels.
It will be like a Christmas, bro. Christmas tree.
But thank you for joining us. As always, we do appreciate your company. We hope you enjoyed our conversation, and we'd love you to get involved in our conversation. How you can do that is in multiple different ways. The first way, of course, is to join our Discord. We have a Discord where we're always chatting away about different IPs. Some of them sit quietly in cobwebs because nobody's talking about them, but then the next week there's a big discussion running on through there. If you have a favorite IP that you want to talk about, please let us know. If we don't have a section for it, we will add it and we will talk to you about it, because we love all sci-fi and we're interested in your sci-fi. And of course, if if you're really, really keen on that IP and we have an opportunity to watch it, then we may join you with it as well. But that's all on our Discord. You can join our Discord by looking in the show notes for the Discord invite, but also the Discord invite with the convenient scanny thing. What are those things called?
QR codes.
QR code, that's right. It wouldn't come to me. The convenient QR code.
No, they're called scanny things, okay?
Scanny
Don't get it
things.
wrong.
I like
Robert.
anything.
My technical jargon just goes off the deep end.
And I'm the one that doesn't do IT or programming here.
Well, you got to come up with something that gets the point, of course, even if you can't remember the particular name for it. But it's on your screen right now if you're watching the YouTube video. And why wouldn't you? Because it's much crazier when you can see our faces contorting and us trying not to laugh when we're not supposed to be. And all the hashtags and other comments that go wandering across the bottom of the screen, which you will not get unless you join our YouTube. So please come and join our YouTube. We need the follows so that we can get an ass tattoo on Geo.
Yes, please.
Why don't you tell them about that quickly, Gio?
So what we're planning, guys, is that once we get 10K subscribers on YouTube, we're gonna either make a poll or I'll give you some choices. So it's either or. I'll give you choices, or you can actually collectively come to certains, and then we'll make a poll. So I can make a tattoo. It has to be sci-fi related in my butt cheek.
Yeah,
Right.
he's gonna edit his butt cheek for you if you join up to our YouTube channel.
So it's gonna be the hashtag. Can go and look at it. I actually have a video explaining it, all of it. It's called 10K ass tattoo.
We're very keen. We're keen for you to see our smiley faces.
They can find that on IG and on Twitter and on YouTube.
And you can experience the podcast in a whole new way. You can also give us a call. Our number is 1-305-563-6344. That's 1-305-563-6334. Our Persocom that will take all your calls is waiting for your calls right now. There are other ways to help us out. You could become a Science Fiction Remnant Patreon. There's a link for that will be popping up on the screen any second now. When somebody presses the button, there it goes. So if you're watching YouTube, you can just scan that one in. You can support Science Fiction Remnant through giving us a coffee. I don't drink coffee, so this is more for Gio or Robert.
Help poor Gio.
For me.
Yeah.
Poor Gio.
Give me my coffee.
He needs to be caffeinated, seriously. And of course, there's our website where you can get the latest podcast that's been released and articles that have been written on subjects in and around the podcast IPs that we've been covering. But of course, all in all, we're really grateful for you joining us every week. We'd love for you to come back again next week when we talk about another awesome sci-fi, and we'll tell you why it's awesome. We'll tell you why we think about these things way too much, and we'd love you to come and chat with us on Discord or YouTube comments or wherever you can find us.
We got all the answers.
And we can have a great time talking about This Is Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
So for this week, it's Mad Scientist Ray from Australia signing off. And we've got Robert and Gio over in Florida. And we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.